Committee of the Whole meeting for the City of Paul River, 3:30, February 16th, 2016. And I would like to acknowledge that we're holding this meeting in the traditional territory of the Tla'amin First Nation, our friends and neighbors. Councillor Hathaway is away with leave today, and we have a few additions to the agenda today. So, Madam Clerk, please.
Okay, so we've received a couple of pieces of correspondence. Councillor Skagshine requested an email that we received from Lot Sparham regarding concerns about the water reservoir. So if I could suggest you add that as 4.3 under correspondence. And I believe the email was circulated to all members of council, and the Director of Infrastructure is prepared to speak to it. Just moments before we came into this meeting.
Excuse me, what was that? 4.3 is about the water reservoir?
An email with concerns about the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the tank.
And just moments before we came into this meeting, we received an email from Ty Leishman regarding airport fuel. That is a topic that's on the agenda today. So I would suggest you receive the letter, and as you know, you do have a report coming up from the director regarding that topic, and I'm sure he's not had a chance to read Mr. Leishman's email yet. It was quite lengthy. In addition to that, under reports 5.4, the Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture is here to give you an update on the regional recreation study and the survey that's very close to being presented. And under 7.1, Mayor Formosa has requested new business, the sponsorship for the Cathalamue Totem. As you know, it is Cathalamue this year. And I believe, Madam Chair, that's everything.
Great. So, can I have a mover to move the agenda with the additions?
So moved.
Seconder, okay. Mayor Formosa and Councillor Skagshine. Any further additions or corrections or anything? No? Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. And adoption of the minutes, the regular committee of the whole meeting held February 2nd, 2016. Can I have a mover? Okay, Councillor Paul, the seconder. Councillor Burr. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Yes, Mayor Formosa?
I thought somebody was going to add the seafair issue to this agenda.
Did you want to add that today?
When I spoke with you last,
yeah, I didn't know we were going to
add it. I was going to speak to it.
You will speak to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's been some allegations here. I just wanted to chat about that.
So through the chair, we could add that under new business 7.2.
Thank you.
2.
Sorry, I thought it was covered.
We just have unanimous consent that that's added, or?
Yeah. Everybody's agreeing
Fine with
with
that?
that? Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so back to the minutes. Any additions, deletions, changes? No? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Delegations. 3.1. Ryan Toms, Manager of Emergency Services, Paul River Regional District, regarding vegetation management pilot project. There he is.
Thank you, and good afternoon again. You have my report before you. I wasn't intending to bring you much more than that, other than an opportunity to hear your questions. I've been before you regarding the regional CWPP Canoe Wildlife Protection Plan for many months now, and now we're into the phase of moving on the 32 recommendations, and this is a pilot to start moving in terms of vegetation management. But I would like to hear your questions and concerns and discuss that.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Toms? Yes.
So I guess through the chair, it's always nice to keep our members of the public informed, and so it's really nice that our base, Model Fire Management Base, is coming on board to spearhead this project. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes, through the chair. That's a nice thing that's happened in the last couple of years. Is the now part of the Forest Lands Natural Resource Operations. The welfare management base is liberalized a little bit in the past. They weren't able to really engage with local government in that way. It was simply, go find a contractor. Now they're able to use their tool in kind. So, and certainly for a project like this, it allows us to explore and try out this small section without a cost liability for us. Whereas if we went to a contractor, we're not quite sure what we're measuring yet, and there might be the bills that come with that. So this is nice in terms of them offering that.
So just to follow up on that comment, just one thing that everybody on council, I'm sure, would be receptive to hearing good news that our local base has approached the school district, and we are going to be looking for up to 5 to 10 young men to train here locally, and with the guarantee that one will be hired this summer at a local base, and that individual can make anywhere for 4 months work over the summer, $20,000 to $30,000, put themselves through further schooling or for whatever purpose they choose. So it's all great news.
Great. Okay. Other questions for Mr. Thomas? Councillor Kazan?
Yeah, it does mention the, there was another project on Savory Island in 2009, and that was very successful, and there are plans to continue that on Savory. And
Through the chair, not at this time, not with Savory. It's something I think probably to be reapproached. That one is actually getting on to the point where once a community wildfire protection plan has been out, getting closer to 10 years, which it isn't 10 yet, you start to want to probably revisit it and make sure prescriptions are accurate. In regards to Savory, the way that the private land and the size of the island and the parcels, there really wasn't as much of an opportunity when we look at the mainland. What I think is coming on Savory, if you're interested, is there is some new granting opportunities, again, from the province that we'll explore later this year that give opportunities to work on private land or to work with private landowners where that wasn't a possibility in the past. And when that project was done at Savory, that was definitely not a possibility. So it was really just restricted to public land, which there's very a small amount of on Savory. So in that regard, maybe it should be revisited, although the CWPP might need to be updated. But there were a lot of learnings, and that's what I'm certainly looking to apply here. And that was a great opportunity to learn, certainly in terms of the benefits here. When we look at the public engagement, certainly educating our public, ourselves, as what good fuel management or vegetation management around our trails looks like in the coastal fire environment, fuel environment, versus elsewhere. That was a great experience on Savory there, both the public engagement part, working with the fire department, recognizing good and bad in terms of fuel oil. So a lot of good learnings there, and that's kind of what we're hoping to apply here, certainly in the pilot. In the long run, whether through continued work with provincial resources or through a grant that we can engage a contractor, it would be nice to see all the trails, obviously. And working with our trails maintenance people, it would be nice to see us not adding to the fuel loading. And that's a part of this project too, obviously, is wanting to work with those groups, both local government, whether they're city or regional district, or SLAM trail maintenance groups, or whether they're simply volunteer groups, Bomb Squad, Forestry Museum. There's a lot of people, mountain bikers, that do trails, and it'd be nice to sort of share some of the learnings in this project with that group. Because sometimes it's very simple what's happening, and yet it's creating this fire loading along trails.
Right.
And we know that last summer there was concern about trails and a fear, and a discussion as to whether even trails should be closed. And the hope is that, you know, if we do this right, trails can actually be not a liability, but can be looked at as something as a benefit within our fire concerns. So that, again, this small pilot project won't get us completely there, but it'll be the start for it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Zelka?
Thank you. So from the angle of public engagement, is it with the trail building groups that you were thinking of engaging in order to, as far as education goes, or was there any hope for other volunteer, getting people involved to do the work, like in the future, just from a volunteer standpoint, because it sure sounds worthwhile.
Yeah, through the chair, certainly for this project, we want to set the standard with this professional fire crew and let them do the work, and we'll set the standard that we want to be recreated, whether it's done by, regardless, whichever, whether it's a city parks crew that does some of the trails, or whether it's a volunteer trail group. But for this project, not reaching beyond that, other than looking, like I said in my report, to engage with the various trail groups out there, to actually come out to the trail towards the end of this pilot project and see essentially one side of the trail that's treated and one side that's not. That's some of the education we're looking for, so you can see what's happening naturally, what's happening partly due to trail building, and then what happens when it's cleaned up. And you walk that visually and you go, okay, well, this is what I can do when I'm out trail building, or there's a tree that's come down on the trail. This is how we want to leave it, so to speak, so that we're not adding to the fuel loading. Because a lot of it, it's proportionally, but there's a certain amount that's natural that's happening in terms of, in Penticton Trails is a great example where a second growth stand, some of it's dying out naturally through the root rot or just through its natural progression towards a mature forest, but some of it's also due to trail clearing and simply leaving the debris, the smaller the limbs and that along the side of the trail, which is where you'll catch that cigarette or whatever else it is that starts that and makes a small fire a bigger fire.
Any other questions, or, so for endorsement or support from the municipality, you just want
Through the chair, this would need to go to council for
Yeah,
resolution, so
okay.
we should refer this to
for
council.
resolution, I guess. Okay, so to council? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 3.2, Gary Freebens, President, Third Crossing Society, regarding resolution for the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities, annual general meeting, and grant and aid. Okay, Gary. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Gary Freebens, as you probably know. I'm President of Third Crossing, and with me is Richard Furness, our Secretary. Once again, we're here to thank you for your financial and moral support and to provide you with an update of our last year's activities. Letters of support for the Third Crossing have grown and are expected to explode in 2016. These are the letters from municipalities and regional districts and others. This last year we had a Comox Valley Regional District in the town of Cumberland, and this year we will infill the central and north Vancouver Island and reach out to the interior all the way to Revelstoke. We began our campaign in Kamloops last December. Richard, could I ask you to spread that around? I neglected to put a newspaper article in your package, so if we can cure that now, it would be great. We had a very nice article in the Kamloops This Week newspaper. It was in December, and we are now approaching the Thompson-Nicoll Regional District. We've got several petitions, polls, surveys, etc. are out there in the public domain. We're typically scoring 80 to 90% support in those polls and so on. And a lot of those polls have been spontaneous. That is, we didn't start them, somebody else did. People are just enthusiastic about the subject. And we've had the Powell River Daily News and several other polls and so on taken. Social media and our website are effective, authoritative, and professional. There's all kinds of material about ferry utilization, ferry traffic, and financial statements for the various ferry routes, along with authoritative professionals' tunneling studies. Last month, the traffic to the site was up 25%. I'd urge you to spend some time on the site. You'll be amazed. You can fly the route to Brackendale in a helicopter or drive most of it in a vehicle. It's all there. There's also, so you can experience a trip through a 17-kilometer tunnel in Europe. It won't take you that long because it's sped up 300 or 400 or 500 times, so you go through the tunnel in about 2.5 minutes, but it gives you a good idea for the feel of that sort of thing. I think the website clearly demonstrates that our proposed highway is easily buildable. We've added to the horsepower in our organization. We've 2 new directors. Our volunteers and advisors include engineers, a forestry professional, Mark Anderson joined us this year, a communication specialist, and researchers. We have a very special advisor, Even Grove. He's a Norwegian professor of engineering and recognized internationally, leading tunneling expert, and he's one of our advisors. We're in correspondence with him regularly. There's also a couple of other films showing the building of a major new tunnel in Europe, and it's we haven't sugarcoated it. It shows all the problems that have been had in tunnel building. You can get in there and you can see that this is a slam dunk really to build a 3.2-kilometer tunnel. And the cost of tunnels is not alarming. They're much cheaper actually than building bridges. So we'll leave that. Financially, last year we were up 600% from our previous activity, and this year we're expecting an additional 400% increase in our budget to $13,000. There are financial statements attached for last year and a budget for the forthcoming year in your package. All of those numbers do not include the bridge that we kind of sponsored the building of. We raised about $15,000 to $18,000 of donated goods, and we got a grant from the Fall River Community Forest of an additional $10,000, and that money is going to be used next year. The material's all up at the site on the Upper Elder, and the bridge, it's an ATV bridge, will be operational this spring. Between now and November, we'll achieve several additional important tasks. People need to fully understand that we're talking about two highways. The first deals with the Howe Sound Crossing and the Langdale Ferry. Our highway completes the connection between the coastal communities and the BC interior. It's a vision that will change the province. It's more than a road to Squamish. I cringe every time I hear people talk about a road to Squamish. They're missing the point and they're missing the vision. We'll sell the vision when people realize the economic facts. Excuse me. Our estimate of the cost of both roads is $1 billion. We may be light on that, but the Binney study will deal with that. The Binney study, of course, is Binney and Associates, the successful bidders for the $250,000 contract. And yes, that's a lot of money, and that is the primary reason the highways people have dismissed our case so often, saying the road will never be built. It's time to think outside the box, as they say. Our current estimates are that the lower road will cost $400 million and our road will cost $600 million, $1 billion total. The federal share is 1/3, leaving $667 million for the province. All of that will be offset by savings of BC ferries. It's going to cost the province nothing. People are skeptical regarding these numbers. By this fall, we will have a material support for the numbers, including the independent Binney report. In the meantime, the basis for the foregoing numbers is fully documented on our website. The economies accruing to BC ferries include saving $200 million at Horseshoe Bay for congestion relief, and that's their number. We have calculated the operations of the Comox ferry that they will improve by $37.5 million per annum from east-west additional traffic between the island and points east. The detailed calculations are on the website. We've pegged the present value of those annual savings at 10 times, or $375 million. That's $575 million in those two items alone, the congestion and the increased traffic over here. Smaller items make up over $100 million, and we're currently working with BC Ferries officials, actually the Director of Strategic Planning, this is the title, on two other projects. They're looking at flexible pricing, which would have the impact of taking a look at the amount of people that are left behind on a ferry run, a specific run, discount pricing the earlier runs and dragging that peak traffic over to a lower place, so the net result would be increased traffic, increased revenue, and no lineups. Just tossed around a lot of big numbers, but parenthetically let me say that the numbers for these mega projects are not easy. There's simply too many comparisons, and we certainly are not professionals, but even engineers are challenged in those instances. I understand the Newport Man Bridge came in at about 150% of budget, $3 billion. The Binney report will address these number issues. Before this November, there's a few matters of public opinion that we'll be dealing with. Item number one, while we have overwhelming public support, there are still some negatives out there. We met head on those who said the road would be too high, too steep, too snowbound, and too this and too that. And we met with one fairly vocal critic on the subject and clearly showed him what the facts were. His reaction was, well, it'll be too curvy. Well, it's not too curvy either. So, you know, it's, we feel that the website demonstrates that. Public opinion two, fear of increased criminal activity and fear of too much change. We like our solitude. Well, we've all have some of those concerns, and people who are truly concerned deserve to have those concerns addressed. Therefore, we will study the issue fairly and determine the facts and present a fair analysis of the issues. There are several similar examples, such as the impact of the Coquihalla on Merritt and others. This is our undertaking. It will be done before November. In the meantime, it's fair to remember that while we all enjoy the solitude, the isolation is truly killing us. The many economic difficulties of our area are well known to each of you. The proposed road will ease most of them, many very significantly. Of that, I believe there's no doubt. Public opinion number 3. For years, the highways officials have told us that the road will never be built. This view is because the anticipated costs are huge in relationship to the small population of Powell River. This view is still present today and is in fact proven by the limiting terms of reference for the study being undertaken. There's no reference in those terms of reference to the connection of Vancouver Island and the interior, and therefore there will be no consideration of the very obvious benefits of those connections. We and our engineering advisors have studied the terms of reference in detail and have have a plan to present our position and have it referred to in the report. Our view is also well known to Jordan Sturdy, the Minister and Senior Ministry staff. The savings of BC Ferries will pay BC's share of the cost of both roads. Those are our major objectives before November. We will be very well prepared to receive the mini report. That brings us up to date with the recent past and the immediate future. We believe that the road is a very real possibility and that it would resolve many issues in our community. Our small organization has invested many volunteer hours, and we've assembled a team with considerable skills and knowledge. We believe that we have and will continue to be considerably effective. Following the tabling of the Binney report, there will be much to be done, and in the following months there will be a provincial election. There's more than one way we wish to help. We wish to enlist the help of council on all of these things. First is obviously the money part. It's always difficult to determine what's an appropriate request. This year we will have many presentations to make and many meetings to attend. Many of them belong beyond the local area. That's driven our budget needs from $3,000 last year to $13,000 next year, and I refer you to the statements in your package. We'll expend our requests for grants well beyond the local area and well into the private sector. That is, we're going to be asking the people on Vancouver Island and the interior to pitch in financially as well. Our thought is that doubling the amounts from your organization is reasonable. We understand that the city population is 2/3 of the total, and last year the total was $1,500 between the two organizations, the regional district and your. Such support from you would be a strong motivator to other local and regional governments to support our cause. We would also appreciate accessing some of your senior staff time for some needed statistical information. Our requests will not be onerous. And next year we will additionally request your sponsorship and support. It's our thought that next year would be the appropriate time to take our cause to the ABICC and to the UBCN. And I would love nothing more than to see the city of Powell River and the regional district of Powell River sponsoring a resolution in our favor. And if you're prepared to undertake that, we will make sure that you have plenty of support from the other municipalities and regional districts with which we are in contact. So I've tried to not take too much time. There's last year and this year, at least up until November for you. Come November, the Binney report will come in, and there will be a ton of work to do then as well. So I'd be pleased to answer any questions or questions.
Thank you. Questions? Yes, Councilor Saska?
Thank you.
Yes, Rob.
Having years ago being a commuter between the interior and Vancouver for work, between work and home for 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
I drove the Duffy Lake Road fairly regularly, and which is 60 kilometers basically.
Right.
It's also a high alpine highway and some what I would call a high alpine highway, probably comparable to your proposal here, at least in a way. Probably as close, or maybe the Coquihalla route would also compare.
Yeah.
But I do remember that on at least one of my trips, counting the number of snowplows with relative to other traffic, the ratio was as much as 1 to 2. So I'm just wondering if there's been any calculation yet for maintenance in particularly the backcountry part of the route, particularly in winter.
Yeah, you're right. I've driven the Coquihalla or the highway, the Duffy Lake as well. Our road, by the way, is not nearly as high as Duffy Lake. Our road is like 75% under 500 meters. But yeah, I expect there will have to be some improvements to Duffy Lake over the years. I have no doubt that the traffic will justify that. There's one particular area where there's a significant switchback where most of the problems emanate from, and we aren't generally aware of it. It's not our focus, but we're certainly aware of it and have been aware of it for years. We'll deal with that as time goes by. I don't expect the highway will be perfect right from the very start.
Will that be part of the report?
Sorry?
Will that be part of the report you're expecting in the fall?
No, it will not. The request for proposals was 22 pages long. It's very detailed. They're asking for a ton of information about a variety of subjects, and it'll be a once-over, fairly lightly kind of report. I mentioned that we're going to have input to it, and there's a provision in the terms of reference for additional matters that the consultants believe should be brought to the attention of the ministry to be inserted into that report. And we intend to be on top of making sure that the Binney and Associates do make those points. Yeah.
So, Councilor Brewer?
So, thanks for that. So you presented last week to the regional district.
Yes.
For a grant and aid, and I think that's a good place for grant and aid of this nature. The general grant and aids through the regional district are roughly, they're assessment based, so they're half paid by rural residents, half paid by city residents. Last year, I think you were provided $1,000 from the regional district and $500. Last year, you were provided $1,000 from the regional district.
$1,000 from the regional district and $500 from the city, but it was explained to me that was really $1,000 from the city and $500 from the regional district.
Exactly.
By virtue of the way they do their accounting.
Yeah.
So I think the regional district is probably a good place to consider a grant and aid request for the Third Crossing Society. My other comment would be, I'm looking forward to waiting on the results of the feasibility study. I think that'll answer a lot of questions that you even outlined. You know, a lot of the questions that have come forward from a number of people. Hopefully we'll see, you know, some specifics around cost estimates on the various routes, because there's 4 different routes that they're looking at.
My understanding is there's 2 serious considerations of the Lower Sunshine Coast over the Howe Sound area. One's the road from Squamish through Woodfibre, which happens to hit on the LNG issue, to Port Mellon. The other is a bridge system from basically Port Au Cove area to Anvil Island to Port Mellon, which means the road up to Woodfibre would have to be added, and it would not connect directly with Squamish, which is a bit of an issue, I suppose. My understanding further is that the road issue from Squamish to Port Mellon is expected to be about half the cost of the bridge alternative, but that it's half the time from Vancouver to Port Mellon. So twice the cost and half the time is the bottom line of that. Our deal, you know well about it. It comes out of, for anybody who's a skier, our road would come out of the flashing light in Brackendale. That's the eastern terminus.
And on your comment about a resolution to AVICC, what kind of resolution were you thinking?
We're thinking that that's not for AVIC this year. There's a few issues that we need to straighten out. And it's more properly timed, I think, for AVIC next year in 2017. We're thinking just of a general resolution in support of the road, and hopefully AVICC will adopt that resolution, which means it would be taken to the UBCM pretty much automatically the next year. We're also going to solicit the same sort of support from the Southern Interior Local Government Association. So a general support, and, you know, basically to ask the government to give serious consideration.
Okay, Mayor Formosa?
Yeah, so on that particular point, resolution that we want our support with, along with the regional district, not for 16, but for 17, will the study have been completed? And the reason I say that is, you know, I've always said this to folks that ask me, you know, my view is I believe that this is all about wood fiber, and that the government is kind of using the fact that between Third Crossing and the city of Powell River, you know, making a lot of noise about ferry issues. That when it was announced, you know, we're going to study this issue because these communities, I think it's just smoke and mirrors for wood fiber. And so what if the study comes out and suggests, you know, a link into the Lower Coast, which would be either a bridge or, you know, the road around the Horn into wood fiber, which would take longer, but less money. What if it comes out in regards to that? Our ABICC resolution, is it for Third Crossing through to Powell River, or you know, because any link would help our economy and our community. If there was a link to the Lower Coast, I mean, that would help us a lot. So are you looking for just a third crossing? And
no, I'm looking for support for the Sunshine Coast, both options. We're
roads?
asking for 2 roads, that's clear.
Oh, 2 roads.
2 roads, absolutely. One
Okay.
is an east-west connection from Vancouver Island to the interior. Kamloops was buying into that, by the way. I've talked to that reporter several
Okay,
times.
so you'll be asking for both roads. So that answers
That's
my
right.
question.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the other part of your question, I think, was, will the resolution, or sorry, the study be in? That's why we want to delay it 2017.
Right.
2016, the study won't be done. It'll just be starting by November of 2016. The study will be in. We'll have plenty of time to study it and comment on it before the ABICC AGM in the spring of 2017.
Right. And just to finish, I'll just agree with Councillor Brewer that through the grant and aid through the regional district is probably the best place to find the monies, because we're there anyway. So you get 2 in 1.
Okay?
Thank you.
I just wanted everybody to hear about it.
Councillor Paul?
Yeah, just on the, through the chair, on the grant ask for this
Yes.
year, you're asking for a little more this year around as opposed to last year, correct?
Yes, I was thinking that if we could, well, we're taking our budget from 3,000 to 13,000. We're going to ask lots of other people, not just the city and regional governments. We're going to ask lots of other people for support. So I was just trying to figure out what was the appropriate amount that we ought to be seeking. And I thought if we could get as much as double, that would be wonderful. It would certainly motivate the other people to support us, which we need. If we get only mediocre support, then that's, we're going to make, you know, I don't want to spend our whole year just looking for money. We want to get some things done, so we'd like to get this.
Yeah, just to follow up, I just want to say, having attended one of their last meetings around our night of our budget presentation there, where they filled the lower bowl pretty well of the theater at the complex, I was very impressive turnout, and it just shows you how much the people of our community appreciate the fine work that your group is doing. And as the mayor alluded to, our best chance is working hand in hand with your great organization, with the city hand in hand, to make this a reality, especially when Mr. Stone, the minister, is saying that this could be the start of a multi-billion-dollar ordeal.
Thank you very much.
For our province. So
We
I applaud your group. Keep up the good work, and I'm certainly here to support you every step of the way.
Yeah.
Thanks a million.
Yeah, thanks. And so I would just touch base, I guess, with the regional district, because if we're going to be included in the general grant night at the regional district, you might want to amend how much you're asking for from that.
I'll be talking to them tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, 3.3, Janine Reimer regarding C3 Online Consultation Hub. Welcome, Janine.
Hi. Okay, so I'm here today to talk about online public engagement. Let's just make sure this is working. It was. And now, of course, it's not. Aha. Okay. I'm I'm proposing that the 3 local governments, the City of Powell River, Sleaman, and the 5 electoral areas, share a web service that is entirely for public consultation. The concept is an online community center for public engagement for the whole region. I presented this to the Regional District Committee of the Whole last Thursday, and I'll be presenting again to Sleaman Council this Thursday. The site is more affordable if you share it, and you'll also get more traffic to the site. I'm also proposing that for the first year of the website's operation, you hire me to project manage it, because your staff is already very busy and there needs to be a dedicated project manager at the start. The staff would gradually take over my tasks throughout the year. As a reminder, public engagement is different than other government communications in that it involves a two-way exchange of information between government and citizens. The consultative process gives rise to greater public acceptance of decisions made, and government is more likely to be viewed as collaborative rather than authoritative. The summary of my background relevant to this project: I'm local, having lived on Savory Island for 11 years now, full-time. I'm a research and communications consultant with 25 years as a project manager in advertising, including having run my own advertising firm for 15 years with my husband.
Sorry.
I'm certified in public participation planning, communication, and techniques through the International Association of Public Participation. And last year, CAO Mac Fraser hired me to do a research paper on community engagement. On Savory Island, I'm involved in community projects, including that pilot project, which actually I initiated and coordinated the Savory involvement for, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. I'm one of the founding officers of Savory Island's Public Safety Society that raised funds to buy a specialized ambulance for Savory Fire Department. I'm one of the founding officers of Savory Island's political society called ASIC, which now has over 800 members. I created and run an online election system for them. I developed a member database. I disseminate an online newspaper via MailChimp for them. The reason why I think the city will be interested in a dedicated public engagement website is because one of the city's strategic priorities is community engagement. Your communications policy calls for public engagement strategies. A year ago, city staff attended a workshop in community engagement given by communications specialist Jan Enns. And because my research for the city concluded that the city should continue to increase its public engagement. Even though most British Columbia households have internet, the city is not yet using online engagement. Online engagement does not replace in-person meetings, but can be used in addition to in-person meetings to provide a wider reach to the invisible majority who can't make it or don't come to public meetings. You'll get more comments from the online community than you will from a public meeting, because it's easier to think and speak freely without the pressure from a room full of people, and it's more convenient. As your online community grows, the website can become the destination for public engagement in Powell River in the region. Surveys are great for gathering data, but there's some excellent online tools for gathering ideas and opinions. Ideas and opinions of your community can provide valuable research and potential solutions for consideration in your decision making. This is a screenshot, sorry it's a little fuzzy, of a software product called Engagement HQ. I think Engagement HQ is the best of the dozen consultation utilities I've researched. I've picked St. John's, Newfoundland because it's a good demonstration of software. The first part of the homepage here explains at the top that this site is the place where that this site is meant for gathering public input. That engage button off to the top right is it goes to the registration form that requires the visitor's real name, their email address, which is later verified, and their neighborhood. And they also get an anonymous on-screen name if they want one. If you need to know demographics, like the age or education of each participant, as examples, you can add those questions into the sign-up page. The right column there is where the information sources are shown. There are several to choose from. St. John's has chosen 3. There's frequently asked questions, a document library with relevant reading material, and a who's listening section so participants can see who at City Hall is reading the comments. Other information you could place in that right column is an image library, a video library, slideshows, maps, a calendar of key dates. Key dates would be a good place to put your in-person meetings, a list of them, and a timeline to show the stage of the project, like where we've been, where you're going, and a section for links to archived projects or other websites. So the left column lists the current public engagement projects, and the visitors to the site can share any topic through those are social media widgets, those little 4 little buttons that you see there. When the title of a project is clicked, you're taken to a page all about that project, which is where you can engage. This is a discussion forum on a transportation study. It reads here that there were 99 comments. The beauty of a discussion forum is that these 99 comments can be searched for keywords and sorted into themes for reporting back to you. 99 may not seem like much for a town the size of St. John's, but keep in mind that the information on this page will have been read by many more than the ones who chose to comment. Also, the 99 comments are from one topic only, and there are 99 more than there would have been if there had not been an online engagement option. So, next map. Right. This is an engagement technique that can be useful to your planning department. In particular, it's an interactive map where participants can add markers with comments that appear when you roll over the marker. There's also a brainstorming tool for getting rough ideas that are later voted on. There are surveys and polls. There's a news feed where you can provide updates on a project. There's a question section that is answered by government, and a few others. It's this variety of techniques that makes the consultation site especially useful for multi-phase projects that require a range of public input. Analytics. Okay. A couple pages here of reporting tools that show how input can be organized to create charts, graphs, Excel files, and PDFs. It's not just numerical data. The reporting tools allow you to group and analyze themes in the commentary, or to see how certain demographics or neighborhoods view a topic differently. So an important step in public engagement is the reporting back stage at the end. An engagement report should explain, we asked, meaning we, the government, asked, you said, and we did. It completes the loop in the two-way engagement process. So this is my involvement in the first year. I'll develop the structure of the site to include the 3 governments, develop the promotions, it has to be promoted, or there will be limited traffic to the site. You tell me what topics you want to be engagement topics, typically topics that have a significant impact on the community will benefit from public engagement. I set up the projects, select the appropriate engagement techniques, and write the project descriptions. Everything I write is vetted by you or by staff. I moderate the online discussions. I forward any public questions to the appropriate government staff. I notify participants of any updates. I train staff on how best to use the site, and when the consultation period is finished, I gather and analyze the input and create summaries for you. After your decisions on a project, I create the reports that explain we asked, you said, we did. The cost for my consultation and the web subscription are outlined in my report that is part of today's agenda. The city would be sharing the costs with the 2 other local governments. My report also has some public engagement sites listed there that you might want to visit, and as this is a brief outline, I'd be happy to explain more if you want to contact me. Okay,
Great.
thanks.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Ms. Ryman? Counselor Skansek?
Thank you. Yes, I'm always happy to have more consultation and public input, and I think that would be excellent. So just to be clear, there is an annual subscription just for the website, and then any
Yeah.
work that you're doing on top of it is the $35 per hour,
Yeah.
depending on that, and that's to each community or split 3 ways?
I would keep a timesheet, so it'd be to each community depending on how much time I worked on the projects, like for
Yeah.
the city, for example.
Oh, okay. And, of course, we would have, we do have a communications man, I forget the title now, actually.
Right.
So I would assume you'd be working with him on that.
Yeah.
And this would be sort of, and we'd have some sort of a link from our website,
Yeah.
some
like a-
portal somehow.
Absolutely, a little icon portal that should go on all the communications materials, including the website.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, a couple of things just off the top of my head that I could see this working on are the sewage treatment plant, and as a tool for, I see there was a participatory budgeting project in one of the slides that you presented. So participatory budgeting, this could be a portal for something like that.
Right.
So those are 2 things that sort of leap to mind. And I just, and the regional recreation would be an entire, like, all-encompassing one for all 3 governments, sort of thing, and possibly the C3 forums that we have periodically.
Yeah.
Those are things that lead to mind that this could be a tool for, to engage on that, so.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do have a significant portion of people who aren't on the internet. They're not on Facebook, they don't have internet. So we need to make sure that, we would need to make sure that there would be that outreach as part of the program. It's not solely, just thinking off the top of my
Right.
head.
That question came up at the RD meeting,
Mhm.
and subsequent to, the following morning, I sent them out, like, I think it was 7 ideas how to address the accessibility issue.
Yeah.
One thing that would be great is, I understand from your February 2nd meeting that TELUS has agreed to pay for the internet at the rec center and the library. And so, I mean, if you had, for example, your public engagement site as the opening page on your computers at the library or at the rec center, or any other community area that you might have a computer, then, and, you know, librarians taught them how to use it,
Right.
that sort of thing, that it might be, that would be a place where people could come to do the online engagement. Also, though, the surveys, for example, can be printed out from the site and then later reintegrated into the data. Like the hard copy surveys can be reintegrated
Right.
with the
And then
digital.
I see that Director of Parks and Rec has brought a contraption in for later, and I suspect that this is a survey coming up, so something like that could be integrated into this type of a program.
Yeah.
Conceivably. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Ryman? Counselor Southcott?
Thank you. This looks like a really beautiful tool. I truly believe that democracy is best served when there is the greatest opportunity for the people represented being able to have a voice.
Right.
And this obviously gives that opportunity. In previous discussions we've had about exactly trying to achieve this kind of thing, using mainstream social media, for example, there's been big concerns about how much time it takes to manage.
Yeah.
And clearly, I did read your report very carefully. Thank you very much, because it really, and you outlined it all really well. The concern, though, still is, you know, for a community our size, this looks like a real Cadillac, and it's just It's so beautiful.
Oh, good, well, that's a good thing, okay.
How, in an ongoing sense, is it really realistic to expect our staff to be able to carry on, like after a year of
Okay,
getting
so
it going?
Richmond has 3 communication staff
Mhm.
for a city of 200,000. And they use Engagement HQ. And we'll have 3 communication staff for a community of 20,000, because there'll be one from Slam, one from the city, and one from here. No, sorry, one from the city, one from the RD.
Mm.
So I think it is doable. Off the top of the project, it is not doable. I think you really do need one person to make it so, you know, and to get it started and to get the systems ready. I think it is doable. Also, there's automatic moderation of profanity and spam. It's every time somebody makes a comment, I get a little, if I'm moderating, I'll get a little, you know, so, oh, somebody made a comment, and then you get to read it right away. People do have to agree to terms of use, and if they violate the terms of use, they get pulled, and then they get an email that says, by the way, you said you weren't going to, you know, call somebody that name, and you've done it again, so we offer, you know, you can resubmit without that language, right? And that kind of thing. So, and all those removed comments are saved, like nothing gets thrown away. It's not, you know, censored. People have a chance to reformulate their ideas.
Okay, Councilor Bird?
Sure, thank you. Question that I think came up at RD, the subscription cost,
Right.
it would require the 3 governments to buy in to keep it at that price per government. correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things I'm thinking, because sometimes we get these great delegations and everyone kind of waffles wondering how to deal with it.
Right.
I'd suggest we've got staff's under direction to prepare some roundtables. It's something we could discuss there with the public as to what they want to see happen. A lot of the public engagement piece and how to do it is with staff, and I see some potential conflicts with what might be already underway and what's the purview of staff versus maybe they want to bring us some new initiatives. So the roundtable's one where we could discuss it further, and I wonder, I've seen the same thing happen at RD where the price tags are pretty hefty for communities our side, or they're perceived to be hefty, but we all want more public engagement.
Right.
It's a good topic perhaps for a C3 as well. Do we want to all collaborate on public engagement? I see potential problems there as well though, because we all want to do our own specific engagement. Could we even collaborate on something like that? I see Madam Clerk had her finger up, so I'll cut myself off there.
So through the chair, you make a bunch of really good points. Actually, when we were first presented with the idea of having Ms. Reimer come to us, it was suggested that maybe she do her presentation at a C3 where you've got everybody there at the same time. Now, we know that you can't make a decision at a C3, but you can certainly gather information and discuss it, and I think that would be an excellent option. Then you're all together in one group. I think the roundtable idea is great, and that's the CAO upon his return at the end of the month. He's been tasked to proceed with that. The city has issued just, I think it went out yesterday or Friday, an RFP for the communication coordination services, and that is to develop a proactive communications plan. Mr. Fraser worked on that before he went on his vacation, so that is out there. It's on Civic Info. I believe there's an ad going in the Peak tomorrow, and it's on the city's website under the I Want to Bid section. So, and a good part of that service that we're looking for in the RFP is developing programs and processes to inform and engage the community on municipal initiatives and programs and whatever else, so that kind of fits in with all of this. So I think that you do have different ways that you can deal with this, and I believe the RFP closes March the 4th.
Okay.
I spoke with UBCM yesterday, and just to see, but maybe if the next C3 was live streamed, it could be the opening banner this website, showing, you know, the three governments speaking together, and then, you know, I know they fund up to $5,000 for a forum, right? So I thought that would be great. Spoke to them and they said that, first of all, they can't give me even an inkling of encouragement until they see an application. And they don't, he said it doesn't seem outside the realm of possibilities, but the deadline for the application was May, he said. And so, and when they don't even know for sure that they're getting funding this year. But if, like pie in the sky idea, you know, if maybe, you know, if you do apply for it again this year, or one of the three governments does, there's $5,000 potentially, up to, but we really have to show that it meets their objectives, not ours.
Right.
If I can, through the chair, we have in the past applied and been successful getting the $5,000 for the C3 forums over the years. So we're certainly aware of the process. I know we haven't been doing it because this RC3 has just evolved sort of beyond that. For something specific, it may be worthwhile to submit an application.
Okay, Councillor Paul?
Yeah, through the chair, first of all, I just want to thank you for your fine presentation and great job here today and all the information you presented. One of the things that definitely comes to mind for me is when you're dealing with various levels of government in a small community such as this, it's not always easy to get everybody on the same page.
Right.
How widespread is this type of format or system used in other jurisdictions in the province? Can you just elaborate on, but is this being done elsewhere?
Surrey has one. They use a different, what's their city speak? There are different products. They're all called consultation utilities. They have different benefits. Let's see, Richmond, of course, is using this one. White Rock has one. West Vancouver has one. But they are pricey. You know, usually they're used for corporations. So, but the bigger, I think Victoria's got something. Maybe it's Place Speak. Yeah, so the bigger cities can afford it. Smaller towns, not so much. Which is why I thought, well, if we share, maybe it's more affordable. Plus, I did, you know, spoke with the people at Engagement HQ, and they played with their prices. So it's usually about $1,000 per person. So you got 15,000 people would be $15,000. That's kind of.
Mayor Formosa?
Yeah, hi, thank you. Again, thank you very much for being here and showing us this tool. My comments are in this year's budget, as Madam Clerk alluded to, and you know, we have put monies into social media where we now live stream this meeting, live stream our council meetings. We have a communications person that we brought along for now, and then I guess the RFP goes out, and so, you know, there's, you know, pool money. I would be stretched to spend more than that, personally, knowing our circumstances of finances. How we, you know, you can build a house with X amount of dollars, it looks beautiful from the street, or it looks awful. You know, how we use those monies, I think, is up to us, and biggest bang for the buck we need to think about. I also believe that Councillor Palm, and I'm not sure if I sort of got it here, was asking the question where you've used the innovation of putting the three of us together.
Oh, I see.
Is that, you know, you have that incident, is that kind of where you were going, where three governments share, and then if one falls off, and then, you know, who picks it up, and
Right.
is that where you were going?
Well, to be cost effective, you've got to get three bodies
No,
in
but
line.
when you asked
Yeah.
the question of examples,
Yes.
was that where you were going? Is there other shared?
If it's being done
Yeah.
elsewhere.
And I know it's being done in Australia, but that's where this program originated. But no, it hasn't. I don't know of any other instances here. In fact, it was just my idea.
It was a good idea.
It's groundbreaking.
Yes, we could be a leader. Yay!
Anyway, thank you very much.
There is money that will have to be spent on public engagement. So it's, yeah. So I think this was $5,000 a year versus $10,000 if you went into loan. So there is a savings there, but yeah, it is another $5,000 that, you know, you're gonna have to find somewhere, I know. And then of course my fee. But I would be, you know, transferring my tasks throughout the year to staff, and I do think the staff could handle it here easily.
Great.
So just one other question that came to mind. I was trying to think, I had one more question and it finally came to me again. And that is, as you can see, our regional rec is doing a comprehensive survey of the regional district and the city citizens on a number of questions. The price that you're recommending for the 3 jurisdictions, if we came up with a number of surveys, is that an add-on or is that an additional cost of this type of format?
If you came up with a number of
Would
surveys.
it be an additional cost if we wanted to do a survey?
No, the surveys are part of this.
Part
They're-
of it?
Yeah, oh yeah, there are like a whole bunch of tools and surveys being.
So my point is, we can ask the director when he's giving his presentation later, but I'm sure it's fairly costly to put the survey in place.
Right.
Through the
Keep
chair,
that in
you
mind.
need to have participants get the results of the survey. So you would have to wait till you had, you know, a lot of people on there. Otherwise, you're gonna survey just the first, you know, you need to have penetration on the survey.
Oh, sorry. go
Sorry,
ahead.
yeah, through the chair, yeah, but we could have a kiosk at the complex for everything, right? The complex and the library, we could establish kiosks
Yeah.
where, you know, just like that, or well, similar, where, you know, you're at the complex, you know, get the staff at the complex to say, hey, we've got a new public engagement to direct people there, so
Yeah.
they're already coming.
And on that, you know, your fall program that has yoga and
Yeah.
all that stuff, the back cover, there can be that portal icon that says, you know, go here and so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, looks like a great product. I really appreciate your presentation, and it definitely sounds like more discussion will happen, so,
Okay.
great, thank you.
Alrighty. Thanks. Oh, so what shall I do? Like, I'm supposed to report back to the RD next week. I'm gonna see, or their next committee of the whole. Might I hear from this council?
Well, I guess follow up with us on what the response is out at Slam,
Slam.
and yeah,
Okay.
just let us know how it goes.
All right.
And through the chair, just one last question. Are there any timelines associated with what you're trying to do?
No.
No, okay. Thank you.
Sooner the better.
Find the money.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so moving on, 3.4, Corey Carr regarding airport fuel sales. Welcome, Corey. Do you need the,
Can you turn this off?
oh yeah. Do you want the thing, it's just underneath the.
Podium's underneath if that helps.
Oh, that's okay, I'm just gonna hand this out, and then if one person can take it and just pass it.
Great, thanks.
So just from the introduction, my name is Corey Carr. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce here in town, and also Investors Group, and also with the airport fuel situation. So just a little bit of background. My father used to own Ocean Helicopters up at the airport for a number of years. He eventually sold that business about 3 or 4 years ago. And throughout that sale, he still owned the fuel system that's at the airport there. So through myself, I kept it running for about 2 years after my father had sold the business, and I was able to basically break even or lose a little bit of money on doing that. And so really the big drawback for me in terms of doing it as a business was just the amount of time that I was putting into something that was basically a break even type business, and that just sort of became preventative over the long term, is that it wasn't really worth that output, I guess you'd say. So what it includes is 2 22,000 liter tanks. One right now is set up for Jet A fuel, and the other is for 100 low lead. So 100 low lead is what they use for your regular airplanes. It's what the flying club would want, and what a lot of transient traffic would want. And the other one it's set up for is Jet A, so that's helicopter fuel for the most part, or jet aircraft. So typically, as you see on the document here, is that although locally what the demand for is the 100 low lead, when you look at the actual sales of what was taking place, a lot of it was actually Jet A through a lot of transient traffic, as well as some of the larger helicopters that would come through the area and that kind of thing. So on average, we sold about 25,000 liters of the 100 low lead, which kind of, there's an increased demand again, where we're having a number of people from the flying club coming up and asking us what's going on with the fuel. We're having people from out of town asking us. The city itself is kind of wondering what's going on. So that's the point of me bringing this to you guys, is just explaining sort of where we're at with it, what are the options from our standpoint and also from the city standpoint, and what can we do with it in terms of going forward, or what are the options, both good and bad. So when I look at why the city might look at taking it on, there's some obvious reasons that would make sense. And number one is that it improves the flow of goods to and from Powell River. I mean, we're a landlocked community. We have to barge everything in, or it has to come off the ferry. So just adding another element where people can come in by plane obviously helps the overall economy. It helps the viability of the airport itself. So if you're a business and you're thinking about, setting up at our airport, well, you're going to want there to be fuel there, right? You're going to want there to be accessibility to fuel so you can do all your airport-related activities and be able to come in and out, and so everybody else that you're working with, right? So, like I say, it improves the attractiveness of the airport from a business perspective. So if you're an outsider and you're looking at setting up, like Pacific Coastal or something, who may be thinking about setting up here, they're going to be wanting to see that. Over the last year or so, with the drop in the dollar, there's been a huge increase in U.S. transient traffic. So probably an increase we're not really seeing here in Powell River, just because they're going to be coming for fuel for a lot of reasons. And so it just brings people in the community. They use the hotels, they use the taxi service, they go for restaurants. And if you're a pilot, you're typically a business owner as well. So they're the right type of people that we want to attract to town in terms of, look at our community, look what we have available, that sort of thing. It supports the long-standing flying club that we have in the community. I have discussed with them, and they're not exactly in a position to purchase it or take it on at this point. I mean, they would love to, but it's just not something that they think is doable at this moment in time. That could change, or they can become a partner, something to look at down the road. So if you wanted to build this fuel system again, so say, you didn't do anything with it today, and we decided to take it away, and there was just nothing there. Well, it would be about $120,000 at a minimum. That's what it cost us actually in 2002 to put this system in for the city to have a new system, essentially, right? So in my proposal, which I've done a business plan for TOR and the infrastructure. I'm not sure if that's made it to council yet, but I do have some copies here if anyone would like a copy. But in the business plan, I've kind of outlined, it's a lot, more discounted option in terms of getting fuel at the airport as opposed to starting from a new system. There's also the opportunity to do an RFP if you owned it as an asset. You could look out to the community and say, who would be interested in operating this, if anyone, and maybe someone does see a profit if the right markets can be reached, or certain strategic partners like Ocean View Helicopters or Pacific Coastal might be a great strategic partner in terms of building in that viability. And then some of those advantages are pretty obvious. So what I would be thinking from a councilor's perspective, so what are the disadvantages, or what are the risks to a strategy like this, and how does that affect us? So a couple of things I thought of is that it hasn't been operational since 2011, so obviously the traffic needs to be rebuilt. In the business plan, I've come up with 5 or 6 great ideas in terms of how to get that traffic going again and getting back represented on kind of the BC fuel stage, so to speak. And there's quite a few websites that list that, but right now they list us as not having fuel, which is definitely a negative in terms of anyone thinking about coming here. There's the possibility of operating at a loss, so if the calculations are wrong, we don't exactly know how much fuel we're going to be selling. The price we can kind of come up with a pretty good idea, but it could be that it operates at a $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000 loss for the year if we haven't kind of done everything right in terms of calculating what the sales are going to be, and it's going to take us a year to kind of figure that out, obviously. It requires about 18.5 man hours, and that's what I've calculated in the business plan here, to operate per month, so about 5 hours per week, so nothing significant, but could be added to somebody else's part-time duties, or somebody who's already at the airport might be a good fit, or like I say, turning that into a third-party situation where you're not actually operating the facility. There might be some few costs in terms of getting everything going again. I was up looking at the pumps about a month ago, and I seen some rust on one of the pumps and things like that. So I might need a new handle and some makeshift stuff, but nothing too serious. And transportation of fuel is kind of an issue in Powell River because it can't go on BC ferries. So in the past, we used Esso to ship it up on the barge, and that worked out fairly well, and we had a kind of a set cost and agreement. We used Esso locally here, and they're no longer in that service or looking to do that anymore, so that won't be an option. But in the business plan, which I have here, I was able to speak to a company down in North Delta who has access to the shipping ports, who would be glad to ship it up here just like they do to Nanaimo, to Courtney, to everywhere else at the same rate as they get. So a lot of these disadvantages can be tackled or looked at, and nothing's insurmountable in terms of getting in the way of being an option. In the business plan, I've kind of outlined some prices, but I kind of wanted the feedback. What something's worth is only what someone's willing to pay for it. So I kind of want the feedback of the city in terms of, what is this worth to you guys in terms of a proposal. I know that we have had some communication over the summer, which I just confirmed last week. That's still an option, is that somebody is looking at buying the tanks from us directly. So in that case, the fuel system would be forfeited. We probably just, get rid of it or something to that effect. But we do have a income that we're going to draw from selling those tanks as the other option, I guess you'd say. So we know how much we get from that, which is about $40,000. So obviously it wouldn't be anything less than that what we consider selling it for. We'd also be open to the option of leasing at fair market value, or doing like a set per liter commission or something to that effect. So we're open in regards to getting some feedback as to what works good for the city in terms of an agreement. And that's why I'm not necessarily saying today, here's the price, here's this. I'm just trying to get the dialogue going in terms of seeing if there's something that works, because like I say, we can always go the other option, which is selling the tanks, which I don't think really works best for the city. I mean, I'm highly involved in the business community here, and I see something in what we're doing here that actually leverages our economy. It turns us into something that was better than before, and it's not an astronomical price to do that. So if we look at all the things that we spend money on that don't have that economical impact, it's pretty nice to see something that does have that direct impact. And I know I'm kind of a bias because I have something to do with it, but yeah. So that being said, that's pretty much the finale of my presentation. There is more info, and I'll leave these 4 copies of the business plan with you guys. I created it at the end of August last summer, so it's gone a little bit out of date. And if there's any numbers that you want me to spruce up or add, or anything you want me to put in, feel free to email me and I can give you that info.
Okay.
I've also included all my contact info, my cell, my email, and everything in this package as well. And
Okay,
any
we'll bring that
questions?
up, and then Mayor Formosa has a question first.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Yeah, I spent a lot of time working on this scenario here with our director of assets and talking to some of the user groups and yourself, Mr. Carr. First and foremost, not having fuel at the airport is unacceptable. So, I go back to, as we struggle to maintain our identity of who we are and want to call ourselves a city, a community, a town, there's certain things you got to have just to be that. And to have an airport and have no fuel there is ridiculous. So folks that do want to fly here for the day and visit and have a coffee and have friends with them, and that's how we get introduced to new members of our community. Wow, what a nice place, never been here. Came for lunch with a friend who owns a plane, but you don't come here because there's no fuel. So it's a problem. Now, there are a few ways of dealing with that problem. I've talked to Pacific Coastal Airlines, I've talked to just folks in the business and such. And so first and foremost, I have a few questions about this backgrounder, if you don't mind, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the 100 LL, that's just your regular fuel sales. We had a letter here from a Mr. Ty Leishman, quite a long one today, in support of getting fuel up there, and that in his view, some of the information we received from the Flying Club was wrong, because it referred to people being able to use car gas, which is not the case in all cases.
Yeah.
And he more or less goes through all the reasons why we need it and why he moved here and all those kind of things. But is it the 100 LL, is that what Joe Blow buys when he flies into town in his Cessna?
That's right. Exactly.
Okay. The jet fuel 13000, would that be for the twin prop turbos and helicopters?
Correct. Exactly.
Oh, that's what they use.
Yeah.
At this 130 liters, was your father or the new owners of that firm, were they buying fuel off you at that time?
So very good question, is that these numbers are net of the Ocean View Helicopters sales, because one thing Ocean View Helicopters did when they detached from my father's company is that they got their own tank in order to meet their jet fuel needs, and so they supply that directly to themselves now to this point, just for that Jet A fuel. So the numbers you're seeing there are actually net of Ocean View's numbers for both Jet A and 100 low lead, which they use some of in some cases.
Meaning by net meanings not including them.
Exactly.
Right, so this is what you were selling at the time to people going by here and there until you lost.
That's right.
And that was shut it down because you were losing money, so that's fine, okay.
Yep.
So with these numbers you were losing. So a couple of questions about those losses.
Okay.
Were you, at the time when you were had these volumes and you were losing, were you paying anything in rent?
For the
facilities?
Yes, so we pay a lease.
No. Based on this at the time, I know you pay us, but when you were running this business, yourself, Corey, his
Yep.
dad's stuff,
Right.
when you said you were losing so much a month, were you giving your father any money for rent at that time? Or were you just, it's your dad, you weren't paying
Right.
rent, and you'd pay rent if you made money?
So rent for me to own the facility, or use the facility to him.
Yeah, were you
essentially.
paying-
No, I
you were
was
losing-
paying no rent
Okay, were you-
in order to use the facility. So essentially, paid off cost was still basically break.
Right, okay, so so you didn't have to pay rent,
That's
and you
right.
didn't pay back any capital towards the 120?
No.
Okay, thank
No.
you. So I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, good question.
And when we discussed this the other day, just, again, knowing you were coming here, and I suggested, would you be, if, we looked at it, would you be interested in just saying to us, look, if you want to try this, we'll just take so much a liter. In other words, we don't have a rental agreement, we don't pay, for any capital. If we put fuel in and we sell it, we just pay you a certain price per liter for using it that is bearable in the marketplace, that the market could bear. And for instance, if you do a new service station with an oil company, if you have, used to be 1 million liters a year or more, the oil company would put everything in for you, and then you paid them 1 or 2 cents a liter.
Right.
And then eventually, over 15 years, you were, it was yours, and they were gone, or they re-signed, and then they paid you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you did say I heard you say you would be interested in looking at something like that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of like what the business would look like once that started, right? Because essentially one of the things I talked to Tor about is that for the city, for their purposes, it might just be better to do the 100 low lead. So in order to recoup a proper amount of money for our fair market value for our asset, we would have to charge a fair amount per liter in order to make that happen if we're only selling that 100.
So it has to market bear.
But what I'm saying is it might not
Right.
market
So-
bear in that case. Whereas if you're selling the liters that are in both of those categories,
Right.
you'd be selling such volume that the market
That
could
it
easily
might-
bear that amount because it would only be like 3 cents a liter.
Right, so we would have to look at, the two product lines. And I'm gonna say this, that even while we were in that relationship, if you found a buyer, let's sell it. Because talking with, again, and I don't want to put words in Pacific Coastal's mouth, but I did have this conversation, was they don't have an interest in buying off us, they said, but they would buy some probably. Because they're buying off their own volume discounted thing wherever they're at. But they didn't want to see us have, fuel that would go stale, so they would cooperate. Two, they also said they would run it for us because it's not a big deal. So, because you don't have a lot of stuff, and they've got folks, 2 young men up there that do what they do, and that, they'd be happy to. They understand the value for the community to have fuel for the passerbys. So they'd be interested in that regard. There's also been some inquiries about other outfits coming here to open, to fly from here to Vancouver Island. So there may be something there, I don't know. But the other thing that we discussed was we could also get a truck. So our trucks that we retire, we could keep one, put a tidy tank in the back with 2 fuel containers. One has 1300 or whatever Jet A, the other one has 100 LL. The truck's there with fuel, it's a small amount. They want fuel. The other thing we learned in this process is that Paul Daniels, next door to the shingle mill, they run it on the honor system, and they have not lost a liter. So the pilots come in, do their thing and whatever. So there is something we can do. We just got to do something. And having, you know, the fact that we have this airport, that, you know, they call us the city, I don't know where and why that ever happened, you know, we're a small community, and you don't have a tennis court, you don't have a boat launch, you don't have a library, you don't have fuel at your airport. Some things you just gotta do. And this is one of the things we just gotta do, we just gotta find a way to do it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm sure that Mr. Burdick's gonna figure something out, because we need to, as a council, make a decision and pass a motion that we want fuel at the least burden to our taxpayers. But we cannot have this situation. We almost lost that at the nights there, what were they called? When we did
The Fraser Blues.
yeah, the Fraser Blues. You know, because they found out that they came here to do an air show for the
Celebrations.
yeah, the celebration of 50 years, was it?
70 years.
75 years or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
liberation of Holland. But they couldn't get fuel here. So first of all, they didn't practice here. They went to Sechelt and practiced.
Well, they practiced down in the Lower Mainland.
Oh, down the Lower Mainland? Okay. So they wanted to come for a few days, hang out, stay in the hotels, have some fun, practice, let us watch. But they didn't. And they arranged it so they practiced, they filled up, they came here, and then they went to Sechelt, filled up, and went home. It's got to stop. Right? So I'll leave it at that, and I don't know, Madam Clerk, you know, staff, are they going to deal with this, or do we get a motion from council to council
through the
that
chair.
we need fuel?
In all fairness, we do have a report from staff later on in the agenda, and I know Mr. Burdick is eager to present it to you, so I think we need to hear from him before you give any
I know, I read
direction.
his report.
Thank you.
Councilor Scatsa?
All right.
Thank you, and as everybody said, we do have a report coming, and we do have a letter that unfortunately came very close to the meeting, but it was in strong support of fuel at the airport. And thank you for this, because this there's a few questions that I have that I'm not sure if the director would be able to answer, but on your report here, you say this average sale price of $2.22 a liter, is that average of both Jet A and 100
So
LL,
that's
or?
a good question. I actually didn't have that information for the Jet A. I didn't know what the average per liter, so that's 100 LL, which I was thinking was of most significance to the group here, but I should have made that distinction on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Because my question is, in the report that's coming up that we're not discussing yet, but Mr. Bertig has said that he's done a survey of other airports, and the average price is $1.80 per liter. And I'm just wondering that you have an average price of $2.22, and this hasn't been running for 5 years.
Right.
What is this pricing from?
So there was a couple of reasons that we got away with premium pricing in Power, and that was because we were considered to kind of be out of the way, right? And then we also have a lot of aviation-related business going on, surprisingly, right? So there's a lot of helicopters here doing a lot of forestry work, things like with the Run of the River Power facility. There's a lot of helicopters that come back and forth through that. So what I found is that Power was always able to charge a premium. What might be part of the business case in this case is that I did look around at the neighboring communities, and in my business plan that you received there, it outlines some of the neighboring communities and what they charge. And so $1.91 for Campbell River and $1.70 for Sechelt, being two close neighboring communities. And so two approaches to that is you could continue to try to charge a premium because it's been established that the area kind of demands it, and there's probably traffic coming through from Bella Coola and that kind of thing, one of the first areas that they can get to in terms of on their way to Vancouver. So there might be a testament to keep the higher price and increase more, incur more revenue, which makes it more viable. Or the other side of that argument, which is for pricing any product, is if we price it less, we get more sales and we make us more competitive with the neighboring communities. And so when I look at pricing, one of the main things I look at is what price do we need to charge at 25,000 liters to break even, essentially, because that's all we're really looking at here. It's not going to be a big money maker or a big money loser, theoretically. It's just got to be priced correctly so that it can operate as a service that pays for it.
Thank you. And just a query on the condition of the equipment. How old is it? Is it above ground? Is it below ground?
Very good question.
What are we buying?
I wish I should have outlined a little bit more of that. So it's, like I say, it's two tanks which are both above ground. They were installed in 2001, and the other part, two other parts actually. One is in like a container unit, and that's actually been kind of adjusted into a building which houses the payment processing center, so you can scan your credit card, or you can have business membership cards, like you can get those, set them up with the city ahead of time, so you can just pay it and they invoice you or whatever, or you can just have it so it's all credit card based as well. So that's part of it, is part of the system is the pay terminal essentially, and that's operated by, which is outlined in the business plan again, QT Technologies, which is a company down in the States who pretty much operates every business terminal at every airport. So. The other part is the fuel pumps, which weren't actually installed by us. Those were the original pumps that were there ahead of time. I'm sure there's been some upkeep and some, renovations done to them over the time just to kind of bring them up. But like I say, I was out there a couple months ago. They looked a little rusted and maybe need a little bit of, a coat of paint and maybe some new nozzles and things like that. But for the most part, I would say it's probably 50% through its life of a $120,000 facility. So that's kind of where originally I got it, the $60,000 evaluation in terms of value. And so it still looks nice and fresh and new and not beaten down for the most part. So yeah.
Thank you. And just one more. Just wondering, did you ever approach, when you decided to close it down, did you approach the city in the past, or Westview Flying Club, or anybody else to see if they wanted to take it over? And
Absolutely. So good question again. I've had many discussions with the Flying Club. Actually, with the city, we probably spoke a year after it closed down. I had this exact same discussion with Tor and Sean, is just saying that the city. I'm not going to beat around the bush, but the city needs this service, and I'm not going to be probably the one to continue it going anymore. So what's a way that we can make this work for everybody in terms of making something happen, right? And so at that time, it wasn't something the city wanted to take on or wanted to approach, but I guess maybe it's something that's of more importance now, or we see the value in the long-term picture, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Councilor Burr?
Yeah, my first question was answered on the net of Ocean View use, but the second one, do you know if Ocean View does sales from their fuel, or is it just for their own purposes?
From what I know, I want to say it's for their own purposes, but if there was they probably have communication with some partners who would maybe make some sort of private deal or something like that, but for the most part I would say it's probably 95% personally used.
It's only Jet A.
That's right.
Yes.
And so I wouldn't say it's door is shut in terms of approaching them to look at bringing them back in as a partner as well. And I mean, having the thing going just totally increases the viability of all of those partnerships, right? Because then it's like, hey, do you want to be a part of this? What can we make happen? If it's not even there yet, we're at such a base point that no one really gets on board in terms of being like, hey, what can we do, kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, any other, that's it? Okay, great, thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Corey.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, correspondence. 4.1, letter dated January 22nd, 2016, from the BC Association of Farmers Markets regarding results of the BC Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program. What is your pleasure?
It's up there, sorry, it's behind the screen here.
What's the committee's pleasure with the letter?
No file?
No file.
There's no file?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
And
4.2,
congratulations.
letter dated February 7th, 2016, from George Orchiston regarding an application to the City of Powell River by PRSC on behalf of Sinobrite to remove 30 acres of land from the BC Agricultural Land Reserve to permit development of a private school campus and dormitories.
No file.
No file? Yep. Okay, thank you. And then 4.3, letter from Lots Farham regarding the Haslam Lake Water Reservoir. Councillor Skadsheim, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, please. So we received this over the weekend. This is an email from local citizen Charlotte Sparham, and she was concerned, she travels regularly up past the Haslam Reservoir, and she's concerned about cracks and so forth on the facility and safety and so forth, and I believe the director is available to speak to it and give a bit of a verbal response.
Great, Mr. Murphy.
Through the chair. The reservoir was constructed and completed, I believe it's 4 or 5 years now. And we did have some contractual issues with cracks in the concrete. The contractor was responsible to come back and plug the leaks initially from the inside, and once the reservoir was filled, attempted to to plug the cracking from the outside via injections. They were able to restrict the majority of the cracks, but there was still some small amounts of seepage, and in the end, they didn't get paid for a portion of their contract because they didn't meet the contractual obligation. Currently, keep in mind, the reservoir itself is about 2 feet thick of concrete with a rebar schedule that I believe involves about 8-inch separation between the rebar all the way through, and it's double layered. The reservoir is not going anywhere. The seepage that that we noticed in the summer when it's dry is not the same amount of seepage that you see at this time of year. A lot of it, you'll notice it's on the west side. And what happens in the winter is the roof pools, the water drips over, and you'll see the predominant amount of what people are considering seepage is on the lower half of the reservoir. But at this point, we are not concerned with the structural viability of the reservoir.
Okay, Mayor Formosa?
Yeah, thank you very much. We've, been battling this dilemma of seepage, weepage from the beginning of time on this product. Jeremy, back in the day for new councillors and never been here, has appeared before us and assured us that if professional engineers have sealed and signed off on this project, it's not uncommon to get leaks with concrete, although it's not desirable. We talked about why didn't it have a liner on the inside, versus we chose not to have a liner on the inside. All these things. I know that our insurance company, if we had issues, would not insure us as a city. If there was concern with that thing breaching and, flooding out everybody below it, it's just not an issue. I mean, insurance folks send around, I don't know, Mr. Burdick, I know on my private assets, my insurer comes and visits my assets, looks at them, determines whether they want to continue to insure me alone or with 2 or 3 others, and I don't know, do you get visits from the insurance company that look at our assets and determine? Go ahead.
Yep, through the chair, our insurer does routinely come here, and before coming, they do contact staff to find out if there's particular areas of concern that they want to have them look at. So that's a regular thing that happens.
Right. So I mean, I understand that it's still weeping, and I don't know how much we didn't pay them for such, but we do have professional engineers that told us that on a number of occasions, I don't know what, once, twice. I think this is something that we're just going to continue to have to put up with. And are there other concrete water towers around that we can, I think according to Jeremy anyway, I don't know if anybody remembers that, those, well, this isn't really that uncommon. So I don't know.
If I might add, a lot of contracts will allow a certain percentage of seepage. Others are the other extreme where they don't allow any seepage. Our contract stated that there was not to be any seepage. Like I said, they did not meet their obligations, so then they weren't paid the full amount for that. So
if I can, through the chair, make a suggestion that you have direct staff to respond directly to Ms. Farnham and let her advise her what you advised council.
That would be my direction, yeah. Councillor Swenson?
Thank you, through the chair. And she did have a concern. She said, I've heard that there's no effective shut-off point between the lake and the concrete box, the water reservoir. Is that?
no, that's not true.
That's not true.
We have isolation at the intake at the lake, like we did before, so we could valve that off. If I don't know why we would do that, but we also have a valve just upstream of the reservoir building. There's a valve located on the main line there as well.
So if worst case scenario, you know, there's a big crack, we could shut off the valve and stop the
Yeah,
water.
I'm not sure where that's, yeah.
Okay,
And
thank you.
there's a.
Thank you for allaying that fear.
So through the chair, Councillor Burke.
Just one, and obviously it was signed off by the various engineers on the
Yes.
project, right?
Yes.
So through the chair, am I hearing direction to staff to respond directly to
Yes,
Mrs.
please.
Barnum's
Yes.
concerns?
Yes.
Just one more quick question.
Yeah.
Somehow, do we not monitor, isn't that thing monitored electronically, like if there was some kind of breach or?
A breach, which way?
Well, I don't
like,
know, I mean,
leak it?
I know
There
that
isn't any,
on those valves, you know, that we had trouble with those valves where everything moves. Doesn't our machine say, oh, the valve's not closing, or this or that? You know,
No,
your
but
computer monitoring of the,
we monitor flows in and out of the
Right.
reservoir, so, you know, that's one way of, but it's, you're not gonna notice any seepage like we have. It doesn't come out as a stream of even a pencil width. There's no stream, it's just wet concrete.
Right.
There's not even it's not like a hole in a dike where somebody can put gum in it and stop it. It's just wet concrete.
Technical sleuth there.
I'm really getting technical.
Okay.
That's the Dutch way.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. 4.4, item of correspondence from Ty Leishman regarding airport fuel. So we
no file?
don't file that.
I mean,
We will
You
speak
have a
to it
report
further.
coming up next.
A report coming up next. 5.1, report dated February 16th, 2016 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding aviation fuel sales. Mr. Burke.
Do you want the podium? It's under.
Right below you.
big time here.
Yeah,
Look at that.
you're much taller now too. Mr. Carr did an excellent presentation, so I'll try not to repeat any of the items that he went over, but provide some further clarification. So in the preparation of the report, we did speak to a number of stakeholders such as the Flying Club and Pacific Coastal. And in our discussions with them, as the mayor said, that Pacific Coastal would, in emergency basis or to alleviate stagnation of the fuel, look at purchasing the fuel. But they would require Jet A fuel and not what we were providing more of a focus on, and that was the low lead 100. We queried the Flying Club, and they currently what they are utilizing up there. Because obviously they have to fuel up, and they don't all fuel up out of town. They use a product called MoGas, which uses regular automobile fuel with an additive. And you'll see in Mr. Leishman's letter that he talks about whether this MoGas is viable. In some aircraft, it is not recommended whatsoever. In others, people are getting away with using MoGas. It's not something that we would provide as a distributor. We leave that to the private operators. We estimated that we could provide sales of approximately 15,000 liters, and that's what we use for our cost estimation. Although previously, Mr. Carr reported that they averaged sales of about 21,000 liters. You also have to remember too that volume was up at the airport, not only with helicopter traffic, but with transient aircraft. Our numbers were up at that time. One thing that Mr. Carr pointed out was that the system was installed in 2001 or 2. That means that the system is approximately 15 years old. Those tanks are rated for a life of 25 years, so we're a little bit past the halfway point. The other issue that we have is that that system has sat dormant for a number of years, and our recommendation would be that the system, both the tanks and the underground fuel lines that go to the dispensing unit, be tested to ensure that there's not leakage that we would take on. So we recommend that we have somebody test the system. The other issue that we would have is we'd have to upgrade the software for the dispensing unit as well, although that would not be a large cost. The capital cost, initially when we spoke to Mr. Carr, it was well above the offer that we currently have. It was north of $100,000. And today, if we did want to purchase a new system, it would be above $100,000 if we wanted to get a proper card system and dispensing unit. And you can see with the average prices around, if we're going to price ourselves within the neighborhood of airports surrounding us, that with 15,000 liters of fuel, our revenue would be $27,000, and we estimate that our operating cost to ship the fuel up, to do the maintenance, the billing, etc., that it would be approximately $33,000. So with that volume and pricing it at the average fuel rate, we would lose approximately $6,000 annually. That is without accounting for capital costs. So although we agree in the importance of fuel up at the airport, we do not recommend to council to go forward on this, as the business case just doesn't state that it would be a benefit to the city. Where we agree is that the city is in definite need of fuel up at the airport, but I can't come here in good conscience and have council recommend that we proceed at that loss at this point. What we continue and have done in the past is encourage people like Pacific Coastal. We've talked to the Esso dealers, and we've talked to the Flying Club. Our hope is that we could get a private retailer to dispense fuel up at the airport. So we are looking for further direction. Unless council wants to subsidize to that tune, we feel that we should continue to encourage private enterprise to carry this out. Or, as the mayor said, just look at emergency rations for aircraft that at times have been stuck, and we've had Monty Hussey provide fuel on an emergency basis there.
Okay, Mayor Barbosa?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think one way or another, we need to have some sort of fuel available out there, and I think we'll get there. It's just, how do we get there? This $5,900 loss, that doesn't include any capital costs. So that's not buying it, leasing it, So, we could look at a lease, where we just pay so much a liter. What concerns me, also, and we need to, look into further, is I just sold a tank. It's like the one up at Wildwood, which is I think it's a 3-product, large tank. And I was told that all the pumps that were sitting dormant, the pumps on top, will probably all need to be rebuilt because they're dried up, they've been sitting there for a long time. And so in my negotiations with the buyer, That was the big issue, was that they said they weren't gonna take a chance, they were just gonna pull them off, re-enry them, and put them back on. So, but even having said that, I think somewhere there is an opportunity to get fuel up there, even if it's on a per liter basis, you know, try and flash it up, see what happens. You know, maybe you get lucky and there are no leaks, that's, you know, but you don't know, because those things have been sitting dry. I think they're pumps on top or something. Mr. Carr, are you aware of the pumps on top?
So the pumps are out on the tarmac, and they're sort of their
Underground
own.
lines.
No, the fuel that.
What's your question?
Well, there's fuel, there's pumps on top of the tank that
Oh, I see, like.
go down and suck the fuel and then send it off.
Yeah,
At least mine, I don't know if you're.
I want to say that that part is located on the tarmac fuel pump, because, like, to my recollection, if I'm looking at those pumps, there's no external, or sorry, if I'm looking at those tanks, there's no external pumps located anywhere on the tank itself, so it
Okay.
must be located on the
So
actual
there'd be,
tarmac pump itself. And it's
Drawing.
is it a one product or two product? You have two tanks.
Two tanks, two
Yeah,
products,
okay.
separate.
So there'd be two pumps or
Two
one
pumps.
pump, two?
Two pumps.
Yeah. So, you know, if somehow we could look at just a per liter usage that works for a while, and if they have an opportunity to sell without buying anything. And again, you know, possibly, you know, a truck with two tiny tanks. And, you know, the folks at Mr. Leishman wants to buy fuel, he gets a truck, he fuels it up, and he pays us. Maybe, you know, by doing that, you don't have a huge risk. It's available for those that need it. And maybe as, you know, things that we're working on at the airport, you know, like we know there's a few inquiries, we know that there's possibilities of somebody purchasing property there, building a facility to do things. I hear that there may be a community person that has a small jet that are moving here, and that jet will be going back and forth. I don't know where they're going to buy their fuel, I guess in Vancouver. I mean, so we need to do something. We can't be on that list where there's no fuel in Powder River. We need fuel. So we got to figure something that's affordable and at least cost to the taxpayers, and hopefully break even and make a bit of money. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Scatza.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for your report, Mr. Burtig, and it was interesting because Mr. Carr's report said that the average price was $2.22. Of course, there's no indication of what other fuel was at the time, and just looking at these numbers here, at $1.80 per liter, we would lose $5,900 per year. If the price was $2.20, we'd break even.
Yeah,
So
if,
maybe-
if we could still sell that amount of
And-
fuel, that's
I mean, yeah, at that amount of
in
fuel.
the future.
And this is 15,000 liters, and he was saying that he was averaging 25,000 when people knew there was fuel. So to get it going, would people like Westview Club be willing to pay a little more than they would pay in Campbell River? They don't have to, you know, fly over there to get it. They don't have to use the MoGas, which is an inferior product. Maybe they would be willing to pay a little more if we can get this going. So if we can build it out at maybe a little higher, I don't know. But yeah, at $2.20, we would be breaking even for 15,000 liters.
Excuse me, through the chair, without capital costs.
Mm-hmm.
Without the capital costs, of course. So if there was a lease, we'd have to add that or whatever. That would be a cost to be incurred. Yeah.
When the fuel was higher, the Westview Flying Club pilots were purchasing fuel at the higher rate.
So was it higher than other places?
Yes, it
Okay.
was, I believe the comment was almost double.
Wow.
in some communities, so it was considerably higher because, like Mr. Carr said, they could charge a bit of a premium. So it'd be a matter of, do they charge a premium, or do you advertise that you have the cheaper fuel in the coast and try and draw more people here? I mean, it's, you know,
Mhm.
catch-22, but I definitely think it's something we need to look at, some kind of solution,
Yeah,
since
absolutely.
it is crazy to not have that option. Councilor Burr?
Question on these other communities, are they providing the service, or is it a private entity
Campbell
providing
River
it?
is run by the city, isn't it?
Sean, you might recall.
Campbell River.
I think it's a mix. Actually, most of them, yeah, Campbell River, I believe, is from the airport, and some of the others are private enterprises.
Yeah.
There's some areas that they didn't want to get into fuel dispensing on their own, is what they've told us too, so it's a mix.
And then the comment was made about Ocean View. I know I think they got out of it because they moved locations, but has there been a discussion with them as to whether they would be interested?
No, they have, we didn't speak to them because they have their own dispensing unit, so we didn't get into, because then again, we started to focus on the low lead.
Yeah, and maybe there is a partnership option on the Jet A.
On the Jet A, yes,
With
but
Ocean View, but we haven't looked at any of those options, so what's the committee wanna do? I mean, I think we need to look at some kind of solution, thinking outside the box. Right, yes?
Well, I would like to recommend that staff continue to come up with some sort of option to provide, you know, the two fuels. If not the 100 LL at a minimum. And look and see if that, you know, I don't think we need the twin prop, do we, Mr. Burdick?
no, we don't have the demand. Pacific Coastal has stated that they do not need it for emergency purposes. They would just do it as a favor for
What
us.
about KD, if they come?
Again, if they come, we'd have to speak to them.
So
and
can we
see,
ask
but
them?
We could ask them, yeah.
So, you know, maybe we just look at the 100 LL and,
Yeah.
like anything, see how it builds and what happens. But at least the private people that, you know, are out for their joyride for the day can come here and stop and visit our community, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And, you know, staff could look at, given some of the things you heard here today that might work, might not work, Mr. Carr might be willing to do, just to add per liter. For every liter, you know, he gets 2, 3 cents, 4 cents,
try it.
whatever. What's market there, you know? Talk to the guys at the Wine Club.
Okay, Councilor Burr?
These capital costs, that was just for the LL, right, or was it for?
Well, that was
Fire
the
also.
whole, with that cost that we described in the report, it included both tanks. Okay, but it only included dispensing of the one, just because of those fuel purchases.
We pretty much have to purchase all that and do the work described here regardless.
Yes.
And then the O&M was just for the LL. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So
I mean, through the chair, you could probably sell one tank, if you're, but,
Yeah.
you know, you never know where it'll lead until you get at it.
build
But
it.
I think there's a way to, you know, get going again. And
through the chair, if I can make a suggestion, what I'm hearing is lots of ideas, but I think staff is looking for some clear directions. So if I could suggest that staff be directed to continue exploring options to provide affordable aviation fuel service at the airport and report back to council with those options. Does that work?
Okay, okay.
So we'll look at, if we can
Lease options or?
Mr. Carr's arm, or look at emergency fueling.
truck,
Some kind of,
Tiny
some kind
tank.
of option. Come
Mhm.
back,
what's his name, Matt?
come back with a
Or
yes
by,
or.
through the chair, as Monty says, he hasn't had any problems with people doing their own. They call that
On
self
the honor.
honor system,
Mhm.
you know.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
If I can, through the chair, I know we have the councillors' community engagement reports and the action list, and we added Mr. Bugard's as 5-4, and he's been waiting patiently, and I wonder if
Lots
council
of
would be agreeable to bump him up now so
Sure.
that we can hear from him now?
Sure.
Get that dog and pony.
Mr. Bogart. Has props.
Well, I had to come with something. I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation, so I thought I'd bring this. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. After 8 months of work on the expanded regional recreation initiative study, we're coming to the final stages of our research. And it's been quite an extensive research. Those people that those council members that attended the last C3 forum, we were at 52 meetings. I think we're closer to 60 now, and we still have a few more to go. But we are now getting into the final stages, and this includes a survey. So This is why I'm before council today. I think it's so important that council is aware of where we're going with this survey, so that again, you can also complete the survey, but also encourage others to complete the survey. Today we dropped off close to 8,000 flyers over at the post office, Canada Post, and flyers will go to each household within the whole region. Flyers will explain to residents in the region exactly how to complete the survey, and also the different types of surveys. We do have three methods. We've got online, and there will be a link right on our website. There is a paper survey for those people that just don't get into computers or electronics. And then we have touchscreens, which I have with me today. Last weekend we had 5 of these portable units. Over at the complex, we had close to 400 responses.
Wow.
A majority, we've already got, we downloaded those results already from the weekend, and a majority were youth, which is really positive. It's a good indication of where the youth are coming from. And we still have, and that was only out of 4 out of the 5, because we still got to download the 5th one. So we could have close to 500 responses. Out of those, we did have about 80, I believe, 70 or 80 that were responding more than once, because I think they looked at the price and they felt that, wow, it's well worth it.
More is better.
We will only allow 1 per phone number at that point. We really pushed to get a significant prize for this, because again, it's encouraging people to participate. We looked at the average time to complete the survey. It was approximately 6 minutes. So again, people are still lined up around my office, because we have the 5 units right outside my office. And every time I go out, there's at least 3 out of the 5 going. Most of the time, it's 5 out of 5.
Nice.
So again, really good responses. Over the next 4 weeks, these portable units are going to be located throughout the region. We talked to the Senior Center president today. She's agreed that next week we'll be putting one out there. We're going to contact Brooks School. Hopefully they'll allow us to put something out there. We've talked to the hospital about putting one of the units over there. It's a mix of everything in the survey too. We talk about health, we talk about participation in sports and activities, arts and culture. So we're looking at everything to try to get a really good mix. Not everybody will get every one of those questions, because what we're doing is we're rotating some of the questions to keep the survey shorter. So we'll look at it, making sure that it is going to stay statistically correct. Tonight, I will leave this 1 unit over in the committee room for those council members that want to go out and try out the survey. I'd encourage you to. But you should be getting your flyers in the mail either later this week or very early next week. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you tonight about the survey.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you. Yes, Mayor Promotion.
Yeah, so first and foremost, great idea. Those ones you said about 40 that kind of multiple, whatever, or 80, whatever, that's not included in the 400?
No, it's not. I've already subtracted those
So
out.
you got 400 real ones?
No, sorry, no, it was 320 with the 80.
Okay,
But now we can still calculate the other one. It's about, we're averaging about 100 per unit.
Okay.
And since Monday, when Paul downloaded everything, I think on Monday evening, we still had nonstop last night,
Right.
all this morning.
So, thank you. Were these ours, or you leased these?
No, this is part of the request for quotation that we put out.
No, these machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is part of their request for quotation.
We're
And what,
borrowing
it's a
them.
window-based program. And
Oh,
what
that's
they
the name
do
of
is
it.
they
It's called that.
design the survey, they evaluate the survey for us, and they provide the online survey, this unit, and the paper surveys for us.
I would just, before I leave this to others, maybe even outside Walmart, there's a lot of traffic there.
Liquor store, yeah.
There are so many locations out there that we've talked about, even with the film festival, going to the Patricia Theater, we've got
Yeah.
requested to Ann Nelson, can we put it in the lobby? She's checking with the organizers. So we're looking at where all the larger events are happening, and where we know there's a lot of people. Tomorrow morning, this will go down into the library.
Great.
So again, it's got 10,000 people a month, and again, it's going to really generate that the impact that we want. We were hoping for 900 people to respond to the survey overall. We are in our opinion, we're already gonna surpass that, just because of, even without the online and the paper surveys, there's lineups. Last weekend, there was a lineup after the.
Administration office at Slam, and we put it in there for a while.
Well, actually, I was thinking, I was gonna hopefully meet with the executive director at Slyman Health and put it out there. We also talked about things like some of the convenience stores out in the rural areas.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we have everybody. This has got to be transparent, and it's got to make sure that we've got every opportunity to have people voice their concern through the survey. We're also, Nancy's Bakery is also on the list out in London. We haven't had a chance to talk to them yet. But where we know there's people, we want to make sure that we get lots and lots of input. And if we could get 3,000 to 4,000, we are going to have great statistics that we can use for the next 10 years as we plan out regional rec.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, as you say, 900 respondents would be one of the biggest surveys ever. And if we can get 3,000 to 4,000, that would just be amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my suggestion, not just official sort of city properties, but businesses. I think Base Camp would be happy to have one too.
Oh, Base Camp would be another great one, and also the new grocery store.
Pacific Point.
Yeah, Pacific Point for sure.
Pacific Point, but they've already agreed
Yeah.
also. So wherever we can,
Yeah.
but we want to always keep 2 at the complex.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
with the amount of people, we move them upstairs when there's a hockey game, we'll move them downstairs when there's just public swimming or skating. And at that point, I think it'll be money well spent to get the information that we require.
And what's the deadline? What
the time?
We've got these units for 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
And really, the countdown really starts probably tomorrow as part of that. We just, because we had them all set up last Friday, we decided we'd just get them going at that point. We could even keep them longer. The supplier really wants to prove that, again, this is a great product, these touch screens, instead of always going on online surveys or through opinion polls, that they've even said if we want to go a week or 2 longer, they don't have a problem. But our time is crunch time. We've got to get this report back to council and the board and the Slammin Council by the end of April.
So about March 16th then?
Yeah.
And just one more question, what's the web address for them? Because it is available on the web too,
Yeah,
right?
it's on the city website, and it's also included in the letter that you'll, or the flyer that you'll receive
Okay.
through Canada Post. All that information is right on there for you.
Mayor Pelosi?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, what did this cost, the survey with these units and their
The
helping you with
total
it?
cost of the whole survey development, evaluation, 5 of these units, was $10,000. Our cost is still, we've still got to promote the survey and different things like that, but flyers and the prize. We wanted to make sure the prize, we looked at everything from iPods to whatever, but we wanted to make sure it was significant. Everybody loves cash.
Yeah, that's a good, that's a really good idea. Councilor Scatsa?
Thank you, yeah, so $10,000 just for one survey one time.
Yeah.
And if we had that engagement tool, it's $5,000 for a year, we could have loads of surveys. with
You
the
could,
similar-
but then you have to find out how you're going to evaluate those surveys too.
It's part of the,
It's part of the package.
it's part of the package that she presented.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
So, yeah,
so just, you know,
But through the chair while you're going, it's not the same as taking these things and putting one here.
No, but we
one
could-
there,
yeah.
one there.
that would be up to council, of course, on how you would direct staff,
Yeah.
how you'd want this engagement process to happen. But again, for us, at this point, we went out to a request for quotation. This is the best package we could get, and we were quite pleased with it.
Yeah. Councilor Paul?
Yeah, through the chair, Ray, I just want to compliment you on all your fine work on the survey. However, one point that's missing in the conversation here is the total comprehensive amount of information we'll be getting. I've taken a good look at the survey itself, very comprehensive, and you can pinpoint where that information is coming from. It will be very valuable. So I'm really hoping for the 3,000 responses like you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. We're
Thank you.
well on our way to a great result.
I hope so.
Great. Okay. 5.2, community engagement reports. Councilors? Anyone?
Sure.
Yes, Mayor.
Yesterday, just to keep everybody up to date on some of the initiatives in my portfolio, economic development, we had visitors from Beijing University They were here, they're here for 3 days. They were officials from the university. I don't know if it's called Beijing University, but it's in Beijing. It's one of their largest country universities, 50,000 students. And so they're here looking at what Powell River has to offer, the property that Mr. Liu has, and Mr. Ewell brought the table. There was 3 of them. And they were quite impressed with the community, impressed with the property, believed that, one of our pillars, community, an education community, an education university city. It's always been one of the pillars that we are promoting, that we have been promoting for the years I've been on council. And I think that something's going to come of it. I think that they will be joining Mr. Liu in his efforts to see a university here. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. They're, like I said, they're here for 3 days. They're meeting, I think, today with DIU, who's, the partner in the program. And there was talks about, even a Chinese university with just their curriculum in conjunction with the merge of, university for our students, our children, in conjunction with Chinese children getting a North American education, but could a portion of it be an extension of their programs here so that their programs could offer living in North America to their students. So that was kind of neat to hear that. And then they were right into our recreational aspects and how they thought that could play into their administration, and having something here for their administration of their whole university coming here and having specific recreational facilities available for them while they did workshops here and then went back to their Beijing university. You're talking about a major university, size of UBC. And these were some of their top executives and directors that so that whole thing, and I met with Mr. with Quan and Yu Fang, Sinobright, here 2 weeks ago, and they informed me that they have their partnership and partners for their financing for their Chinese high school, and they're just awaiting for the agricultural land process to work through. And they're excited, hoping that that can happen. So here we have 2 opportunities. One is mixed bag, offers my children to go to university, my grandchildren, here in Powell River, if this works. As well as there will be one in China. That's the, in Zhanghe, it's a small one there where it would be VIU University in Zhanghe, that those students would go to there would be English immersion, and it would be our curriculum, and then the other would be here, and the Beijing University had no problem with the fact that VIU and that partnership and all that stuff. So it was pretty exciting. It's more and more coming together, and I think I already mentioned to council that the Vancouver Island University has chosen a person to go to China, and I think it's for a year, to work with the university curriculum folks there and talk about curriculum from there to here and here to there, and how it would be set up and such, so that that person would be hired and would be going to China and being there for a year, coming back and forth, working, because you need to have an academic. This person's an academic that goes there and just starts the process. And so that commitment was made, and these things were verbally agreed to, nothing in writing. It was with Dr. Rob Nelson and Dr. Whitty and our local dean, Dave. Greg Pratt?
Greg
Kranz. Okay, sorry, Greg, apologize to you. Having your name wrong, not one of my strong parts. And myself, Mr. Ewell. And yeah, it's finally, after all these years, starting to come together. It's a big process, it's a long process, it's an expensive process. You know, it's an engagement process with the community and with government. And now we're waiting for some ministerial meetings. Melanie's trying to set up from our office for these people in Victoria, just to keep touching base and such. So that's my report on that part.
Okay. Okay, anyone else?
Sure.
Yeah.
I got a couple for us. Just an update, if you remember last year, the Powell River Employment Program Society through Food Security Project started a community food system assessment. Councillor Skadsheim, Southcott and I participated in various meetings for that. Getting closer to wrapping that up. We were originally hoping to wrap up in January. It'll probably be more like March by the time all the data gets collated and put together into a report. And just as a bit of a reminder, they're looking at mapping existing food resources and infrastructure, doing up a bit of a socioeconomic profile of how people are eating here, how they're accessing food, the availability, affordability, accessibility, and also surveyed farmers and other producers about growing food in the region. So it'll pull all that together to give us a snapshot of where we're at. We know there's a lot of work to do on the agriculture front. It's one of the things that concerns me. Some of the other questions, you know, for example, what would happen if the ferries supplying our food stopped running? What would we do in the event of a big emergency? It's anecdotally, we're only growing 2 or 3% of our food here. The rest we bring in, right? So how can we do something about that? This will give the baseline for that. From this report, hopefully we can look at other initiatives to change that. The other thing I want to touch on is last month, I think it was, I sat in on the Stillwater Community Advisory Group for Councillor Skadsheim. She couldn't make it. And that Community Advisory Group is really for Western Forest Products and their operations here, but they also, Island Timberlands also uses them as a bit of a community advisory group. And they don't meet as often, but I sat in on that one. And there's a couple of new people now with Island Timberlands, so it was more of a introduction of some new people more than anything. But a couple of updates that I thought I'd share. Basically, there's no plans anytime soon for Valentine Mountain. That was one of the questions that had been asked, and that was the response. They did report they met with the Greenheart folks, as we read about in the paper and we've heard about, and are in discussions to give them some time on the PRSC properties, but there's nothing formal. So there's nothing beyond what was read really in the paper. There's just some discussions, nothing formalized there. For their private managed forest land properties and the Catalyst property, where they have the timber rights, they're waiting on markets and timing, respecting the concerns for schools and kids, as we also read about. I think that was about it, really, that was reported at K. And the one thing I want to add that did come about, if you recall, also early last year, in May, we had several delegations. There was a lot of noise around PRSC properties and Island Timberlands and the logging that was going on there. And there was a delegation in particular that came here saying council could do a lot of things, request a lot of things, issue stop work orders and such, which was obviously not the case. That's the Managed Forest Council that can do that stuff. A complaint was made to the Managed Forest Council, and they did, I think the complaint was made in May. A month later, the Managed Forest Council did an assessment, as they're required to do under legislation. Examined a number of allegations that were made, including that riparian values and fish habitat were being unlawfully impacted. There were also some concerns raised that machinery had been crossing fish creeks up there, which was not the case. The Managed Forest Council, it's a good report, it's on the Managed Forest Council website. Quite comprehensive, a lot of info on there. I'm surprised actually that there wasn't something put out about it, that this had been done and released. It was released quite a while ago. So I remember at the time being concerned because the allegations were that there was a bunch of illegal crossing of creeks up there. Mayor was concerned. We were all concerned. I think one has to be very cautious in particular, an organization making those claims, if they're doing so, that it's backed up with some evidence of some kind, rather than throwing it out there at a council meeting in front of a bunch of media. Turns out that was not the case. And if anyone has been up there, I suspected at the time they were probably speaking about a trail that goes across McFall Creek up there, and in fact it's a quad trail, it's an ATV trail. It wasn't machinery crossing the creek, and that was an
At the top end?
entirely different creek.
So is that the top end of the trail where we
Yeah, it's on their private
walked?
forest land where we walked. So there's Weiss Creek, McFall Creek, and McGuffey Creek. The work that was happening was in and around Weiss Creek. That road had been put in there probably almost a decade earlier. The concerns and the photos that were circulating and were discussed at the one meeting, you recall, there was probably overcapacity in here. It was a different creek entirely. I think at the time you were accused of not knowing what you were talking about in line,
But we walked.
this is a good report, yeah. So I would suggest anyone that's concerned about Island Timberlands and what's going on in their private managed forest land, go on the Managed Forest Council website. So there's a mechanism in place that people are concerned, in this case, the public was concerned, made a complaint, it was acted on, and there's good info on that site. So I thought it was relevant to bring that up in the context of the Community Advisory Group report.
Great, perfect, thank you.
I had a quick question for Councillor Brewer, if I may, through the chair. We've got on our action list here, staff has asked for geotech and hydrologist reports from Catalyst and IT, read the land near the Timberlane Barracks. Did they have any news on that? No?
I think that would be a question for staff. whether
No, but I
that's-
just wondered if it came up
Yeah,
at the meeting.
Not at all.
No, okay.
I don't think they had seen that
Okay.
request at that point.
All right, thank you.
Okay, other community engagement reports? Yes, Councillor Zapka.
Thank you. The library board met yesterday and is in going full bore now on planning since the deal has been signed, and quite happily. I guess the major piece of news, which is completely unofficial, is that the guess is that the first book might be signed out of the new library, perhaps as early as September this year. The seismic upgrading isn't turning out to be as big a deal as was expected. There have been a few little design changes. Final drawings haven't been seen yet by the board, and the chairman, John Oostman, is an architect himself, so that's very useful to inform the library board. The board's got quite a bit of faith in him. There are going to be 3 local contractors or suppliers of major pieces of infrastructure inside the library. The main desk, where you check out books. What else? The children's area, and some of the shelving and furniture, some other smaller stuff. So 3 local companies are getting significant parts of what's going on in there, which I am really happy about. There's one other major supplier of shelving, and that's a company in Vancouver. So those have been selected. And then we were presented yesterday with a possibility of a 20-foot long piece of art by a local stone artist by the name of Pierre Jeffrey, who some of us may be familiar with. He does exquisite work. But this would come along with a price tag in the mid-70s, so that would add a whole bunch of new fundraising. And although the board liked his idea, there's only one real place in the new library where that might fit as well. So anyway, what that represents to me is that ideas, and it's just this flow of love for this whole idea is kind of coming in various forms, and that was one that I could see. One other quick mention is the Groundswell Social Planning Committee is meeting every second week on Monday morning. That committee is chaired by a very competent gentleman, John Young, who presented to us. People sitting at the committee or sitting on the committee represent PrEP, Lynn Adamson. So a lot of organizations, including PRDI, that is the sponsoring organization for the committee. Inclusion Powell River, Lilla Tipton, VIU, the city, Mr. Randolph, Economic Development Director, and Ray Bogarts have been sitting on that committee. RCMP Staff Sergeant, a representative from VCH Mental Health, Division of Family Practice, representing the physician community, and some others. People from the community who bring their own considerable expertise, like David Parkinson and Dr. Jennifer Salisbury. So they're moving forward in a very organized and highly facilitated way, and I'm delighted to expect that we will have a very substantial report in a few months from John and his 3 workers, and compiling a lot that's come from these very valuable people in our community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mayor Formosa had something?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, I met with Dr. Roland Lewis last week in my office. So just a little update on the refugee situation and committees. So to the best of my knowledge, the Hands Across the Water Catholic Church have their funds available for their family. The St. David and St. Paul's have always had theirs from the beginning, came from a betroth within their organization. The Baptists and the Pentecostals are very, very close. I think they may have their monies in hand. And the United Powell River are getting close. And the United Texada are starting to build up their funds. Lynn Edmondson, sort of the non-faith group that is also part, have funds to top up those that don't get there. And so I think there have been discussions with some of the ones that aren't quite there yet, but wow, isn't that rapid? And everybody's been working hard. There's still more, potlucks and things going on. There was an auction, live auction and silent auction at the old video store last Saturday. And I was surprised. I think they raised, I don't know, $8,000 or $13,000.
Wow.
Some big number. I thought they raised a couple of grand if they're lucky. But anyway, people's hearts are open. And a lot of them have already sort of got families that have already been pre-approved. We talked about all that's going on here, but yeah, and it's kind of neat. Some families are trying to get together, some groups, so that they come with their family, and another group gets another part of the family, and so on and so forth. So that's all moving along in a very positive manner. And I remember when this thing all started, I went, when the press contacted me and says, what's your hopes and aspirations? And we mentioned to get something going here as a community, and that's 1 or 2 would be great, but let's dream for 5 or 6, and that's 1, 2, 3, almost 4 for sure. So we'll see 5 families. So
Great, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Just a little further on that, the next meeting of the entire group is going to be Monday the 29th at the church across the street from City Hall at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
So there'll be a big update at that time from all groups.
Great. Do you have any community engagement? And Councilor Paul, any community engagement?
Yeah, just a couple of quick items, just to update. I had the pleasure of attending the Horizon Business Awards a couple of weekends ago, and sold out event. It's nice to see all of our business people there, and many of them winning awards in various categories. And for your information, the reason I was there was representing our Parks and Rec, because the Woodland Beach campsite was honored this year for the Tourism Award, and that was won by TerraCentric Coastal Adventures. So I had to give Ray the bad news on Monday morning, but it was all good. And one of the things that comes shining through in that event, by talking to numerous business people at that gathering, is the need for economic development in Powell River to make those businesses sustainable. Everybody's up against it. That comes shining through, and I was so proud of our mayor for getting up at the outset and saying how hard we're continuing to work on the economic development front front to make businesses viable in our community and strengthen our economic domain. So he did a great job as usual, and it was a very successful event, and I want to congratulate Kim Miller and our chamber and the rest of the people that were responsible for putting that event together as usual for, I think it was the 11th or 20 some odd years now. Anyway, it's been going forever. One other thing, make council aware of, party program is happening this week. Party program is where all of our grade 11 students attend the hospital to see simulation and accident scene, response by the ambulance, fire, police, and then they're taken into the trauma room and the morgue and various other aspects of the hospital. And I have to say, this is the first year I've led this endeavor from Brooks. And one thing that became clear and evident to me is a tremendous amount of work and dedication by the volunteers of our entire community on various fronts to make this happen for our students. And the one thing I can guarantee you, as always comes shining through, Powell River is a leader in the province in this regard. The amount of time and effort that goes into this. And to that effect, Tony Pappas at the school is coming to film a little trailer of the event over the next 2 days. And he's hoping to further that along and maybe get a full snapshot next year so that this can go to other communities and show these other communities throughout BC how this event should be operated. Because we've had students go elsewhere and come back with reports and saying, what? You mean that was their party program? You should see ours. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, the amount of work and effort that our volunteers go to. So my hat's off to the community.
I know what it is, but explain what it does for the students. Why we do this.
Why it's so great.
And why we
Scare
do
them
this.
straight.
Why we
What's
do it for driving, and as our chief fireperson said this morning, Terry Peters, he said 3 reasons we get accidents in our community. 1, speeding. 2, drug and alcohol. Or 3, distraction with your devices in your car. Those are the 3 leading causes of all those accidents that happen out there. So we had a guest speaker in from ICBC last week, met with all of our grade 11 and 12s prior to grad again this year. Burn victim himself, 75% of his body, and if you don't think that came shining through to our grade 11s and 12s, well, think again, because it's phenomenal seeing a person that has been through all of that trauma in their lives. So anyway, it's happening this week. It's a great event and for our youth. And then lastly, I'll just want to touch on Mayor Formosa's comments on the Sonnebright Fund. 2 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of touring around Guan and his wife Yu Fang, and 3 teachers, 2 students, went to Ocean View, went to Westview, and I can tell you, after your meeting the day before where they said they had their financing in place now, they were hugging people in this community, left, right, and center, and all of our staff, and taking pictures of our buildings, and all. They are so excited to be here and looking forward to the future. That came shining through to me without a doubt that day. And I got another call today for a tour of another group that was in town from the university group, but they were so tied up in meetings. I was supposed to meet with them at 2. They couldn't get out of our board office because of what Jay was putting on for them, that they were so impressed with there. They never got to Brooks for a tour, but it's full steam ahead. So it's all good news.
And those are 2 different projects.
Yeah, but they're moving forward.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Okay, action list dated February 4th. Any updates? Questions, concerns? Anyone? Yes?
Several, item 20 about the wood stove exchange
Yeah.
program. Now, as I recall, Mr. Willett kind of reported on that, and I thought he said we weren't eligible, it's not suitable, so I was just confused whether this was that same direction, or did we have some other direction come out of that discussion?
I think through the chair he verbally reported on it at the time, but there was some uncertainty maybe. So if council's satisfied with the response they got, then
maybe just a check-in to
Sure.
see if he's expecting to come back, or my sense from that meeting was that he had kind of addressed it for us, and there was no
Yeah.
follow-up to be
Through the
done.
chair, I believe he was asked to review again and to consider partnership with URD or some other jurisdiction that's selected.
Okay.
And then another one, item 24, regarding Coastal BC Invasive Plant Committee, and staff's working on a 5-year management plan. We had a presentation delegation at RD last week from Rochelle, I forget her name now, she's either the ED or the coordinator for the Coastal Invasive Plant Committee work. And the discussion at RD was really we should be preparing kind of a regional 5-year management plan with funding options. So I had suggested to their CAO that he get in touch with our staff and think about putting something together with all 3 governments and roll something out on a regional basis.
If I can through the chair, so you'll see Mr. Bugard was tasked with that, and he's been a little busy the last little while, so he did ask that that be postponed to March. So if council's agreeable, I'll direct him to get a hold of the AD, and then maybe we can come up with a one approach.
It would make sense rather than 2 separate plans.
Yeah.
And then the final one, item 31, it's been on there for almost a year now, and regarding section 21 of our Corporation Act, and I'm pretty sure we did send that letter in, we just haven't heard back anything. If maybe now would be a good time to send a follow-up letter and say, just confirming you got our first letter last year.
So I do notice that there's a September 2016 date there, so I think that was probably a workload issue on Mr. Knight's. But he has, we have hired someone to assist in the planning department, so I'll touch base with him and see where that is. Okay.
Yeah, and just confirmation whether, I think a letter did go in, but just if it had gone in, and maybe we could have that circulated again just to see what it said and follow up with the province to see where they're at.
Good. Does anyone else have any? I have one. So number 32, to prepare the report on feasibility of implementing a program to help residents pay for installation of solar, hot water, blah, 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 heat pumps. So I'm going to present at the March 3rd council meeting my my report from the FCM Sustainable Communities Conference, where I got a lot more comprehensive information on that program. And I come back again and say it's not director of planning, it's finance. It's totally a financial issue. It has really nothing to do with planning. And the first question that I actually did ask our previous CFO right before he left, but he obviously didn't have time to look into it, is whether the whole part of this program is using local improvement charges to finance the cost of the retrofit. And I don't know if we can do that legislatively in BC. So I had asked Shazad if he could look into that. He left. So I'm wondering if I can ask our interim
Chair, because we now have an interim CFO and who's well versed in legislation, I can pass that question on to her.
Great.
And perhaps we can get something back from her.
Great, that'd be a good start, and then I can report back on the further findings I got from the FCM. Okay, nothing else? So, new business, because we have no unfinished business. We've got new business, 7.1, Cathalmu Totem sponsorship, your worship?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Clerk, advised me that this is to put this on the Finance Committee agenda, but unfortunately I'm not going to be here, as I have arranged a meeting with the new chairman of BC Hydro and the president of Catalyst Paper to meet and talk about peak energy use program to go along with the, they built those new, we went and visited those new power steam boilers, Councillor, that day, and so I won't be here. So I wanted to bring it up here. I just want to let everyone know that it looks like, I believe the regional district's on side, Slamming's on side. It's every 2 years, this totem pole program is going to go on. When it was first brought to us here by the new director, artistic director, I think that's Paul's role and title, was concern for falling off delegations of choirs due to the fact that when they started there was like 3 in the world, and now there's like 333 copying this type of thing. Subsequently, I'm not gonna say it was the poll, but this year they blew the doors off their intake to the point that when some people were saying, well, you know, we'll have to see if we can raise the money to come put us on the list, they said, sorry, if you want to go on the waiting list, you can, but we have such a list of people that are high quality. Anyway, they're sold out and people on the waiting list. And so, you know, Cathamu, however you want to say it, is so very important to this community. It's been a huge win for us, all of us. You know, culturally, business-wise, you know, people have found new wives, husbands, kids are born. I mean, it's true, you know. Loves are made, friends are made, people travel now back and forth to visit people in other countries. It's a great cultural connection. And it deserves our, and we always have, you know, I'm sitting here, I think, preaching to the choir. No pun intended. But so yeah, they're looking for us to be a sponsor again. I've got a few others that I have to hit up, not just the city that's on my list. Paul and I split the list, but he's telling me that he had, and the school district is now in. They've agreed. I got an email from Mr. Ewell. So here we are. So we're asking for the city to come up with $1,000 a year, which is $2,000 this year, following year, but it's every 2 years for that. And I think eventually the price will come down because I think we should start getting more sponsors. First year we raised $20,000. This year we're raising 14 because we're not doing a movie again. We know our budget better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Okay.
So if I can, through the chair, I'll take this as direction. I'll talk to the CFO and get her to determine in the budget if sponsorship of the totem was included is the sort of allotment, the allocation of funds to Cathamu, and have her report back, and if it's not, then certainly come back. So what you're looking for is the same as what we sponsored before, was $2,000.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll have a, is there a time factor on this? Would you like the report to come straight to council?
Well, you know, I'm not 100% sure. It's, you know, it's this year.
Yeah.
It's coming up, they want to know.
They're carving it, and if we're out, we got to go find somebody else, but it'd be awful
And
to
if
see.
it's not included, then we want to have a backup plan.
Okay, so I'll take it this direction.
Yeah.
We'll bring it straight to council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 7.2, Seafair.
Yeah, sorry, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the unfortunate issue that we won't see a Seafair this year. A number of people have directed me to this press release that was given, and I just underlined one part I want to talk about. The last 2 applications for more financial support were rejected from the city. So there's a bit of an implication here that the Seafair currently receives $2,500 from the city of Powell River, roughly 5% of the overall event budget. The last 2 applications for more financial support were rejected. The Seafair Society plans to make a case with the city for more financial and staff support in 2017 and hope that a new possible vision in which the city partners more closely, So first and foremost, I'm reading an award that was given as a grant and aid to the Seafair Society in 2015 for $2,500, and then it goes on to also include $7,975.59 that was not part of this, release. So that puts us, at over $10,000. And then I checked with staff, and we didn't get a request that I can see for any funds for this year. Never mind 1, 2, or 3. And now I know I was away last month, so finance committee, this, that. But, we never had anybody appear here and say Seafair's on the rails, you gotta step up, that I know of. And, we're always there for what it is we can do for Seafair. We are not part of their organization. They are a volunteer organization, and we support them the best way we can. And, when I did run into their president in town and had a little chat, none of this was brought up, just, we might have to cancel. And I suggested that, they look at Blackberry Fest and merging with Blackberry Fest, because, you know, that has a lot going on. It's already got, you know, that night party that you can start with. It's got the fireworks, and then we can move off from there. It was very unfortunate that the Logger Sports did not want to join with them, but I really don't believe that we, you know, can say that we didn't support them enough, therefore part of the reason it didn't go is our fault. I don't buy it. And so I just wanted to bring that up here, and if I'm wrong, Madam Clerk, you know, or staff, that we haven't even got asked for the $2,500.
No. So if I can, through the chair, I did get an email from the manager of accounting services this afternoon. We have not received an application for a grant and aid for 2016. The application due date is March 15th for that spring intake, and then the other intake is August the 15th, but she advises that we've always been very flexible when applications are received late, but we've not received one. In getting their budget submitted with last year's grant and aid, they had looked to the city for, in their budget revenues, $2,500, which that's what we gave them. Then they have an in-kind category that the budget was $2,000. Well, the city contributed almost $8,000 in kind. One interesting thing to note was the budget anticipated grants from the regional district was $335. And then there was other grants, corporate sponsors, vendors, and but that's a little breakdown from last year.
Right.
So I'm not sure if a grant and aid request has been put to the regional district for 2016. The municipal directors have seen anything come in front of them?
I don't think so.
Don't recall, so something may have gone to Rural Services Committee, but I haven't seen anything on Rural Services Committee either.
So can I just, we got a report of the June 25th Finance Committee Grant and Aid request report. So Palaver Seafair, it says that in June of last year that they asked for $5,000 and we gave $2,500. Now was that $5,000 request including the in-kind?
The actual, what Ms. Sarvey reports to me is the actual request from the city was for $5,000 cash plus in-kind. So what we actually, city approved was $2,500 in cash and then the $79.75 in-kind.
Up to an additional, after you found. So that's the only thing I can think of is that perhaps they asked for $5,000 cash last year, and the recommendation from the finance CFO was to only give $2,500, and that's what we did.
Maybe that's what they're talking.
Maybe that's what they're talking about. Because otherwise we haven't seen anything for this year.
And I think through the chair, it's important for council to realize, to look at the rest of that press release. They have other challenges that they need as well. It's not just the city's fault that Seafair, you know, is having difficulty. They have a number of other challenges.
There's a number of issues. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for indulging me.
Anyone have any comments further to that? So we have no other thing going on, so questions from the press?
No, thank you.
Right. Yes, Paul?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to remind council that the kiosk is in the committee room, and if you can't get to it tonight, please go down to the library tomorrow and fill it out. Your input is very important, and I would say the same thing to the gallery. Please avail yourself of that opportunity. There's kiosks at the recreation center too. Your opinions are really, really important. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Paul. Roger, do you have any questions?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, and from the gallery, any questions? No? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Skatzine, second. Councillor Brewer, all in favor? All right. 6:14.